Rasentopf. Olha o rato lá
Wine, what do you have? What's good for you? Wine, vice or gele?
I'm gonna trap gel. L'chaim. L'chaim. Gimel Thomas. I heard yesterday about a Farbrengens story about the Meise, but I never heard the second half of the Meise. Alle Wesen, we all know that the Friedrich Rebbe took 9 Eden or a minion or something like that, and he made with them a Krisus bris, that they're going to go give their last drop of their blood, Pashat for the Sidas Nefesh, Rasha for Chinuch, Ataras HaKedesh. They'll do everything they can to Pshuto, Arabring the minion, Kepoel Mamish. And as we know, most of them, Taka gave the last drop of blood and didn't come back. But I heard last night an interesting chiluk of that story, that when they went out of the Friedrich Rebbe, they befell him Shunadike Pachat, Amoire, of the gewaldige avodah that was put upon them. It wasn't the question of Chazal Shalom of reneging and taking it back, but it was some Amoire Pachat. So they sent Reb Chatzah Feigen, which was the master of the Friedrich Rebbe, we should go back in and tell the Friedrich Rebbe they Poshet, they haben Meire, they're in a Pachat. So Reb Chatzah Feigen went into the Friedrich Rebbe and he gave over what the Chassidim are saying. And the Friedrich Rebbe answered, Ich fühl das nicht. Ich feel das, I don't feel it. And he explained, B'shas a person has pachad, the pachad starts from the heart. And B'shas the heart is overtaken with too much pachad, it goes to the extremities. So you start trembling. But B'shas the heart has a gewaldige simcha, then it goes to the extremities, you start dancing and clapping. It expresses itself in the entire body. But the nekuda has to start in the heart. There's no such a thing as the heart is peaceful and calm, and mitamol the extremities are scared. It might be Tourette syndrome. It might be a disconnect that the limb sepals are not connected to the moyach and to the leiv, and therefore they tremble. But that's not pachat. Pachat hebt sich auf von dem leiv. So the Friedrich Rebbe said, Ich feel das nicht. Meaning, the heart is there, Livon Shal Yisrael is the Friedrich Rebbe, the Nasi, and I don't feel it. Elamai, Nachman Hom Besser is kashrus, so that you'll feel what the heart feels, and everything will be the same. It's a Gimel Tammuz. Nobody's asking of us in these days to have that type of Yesidas Nefesh, Baruch Hashem. But to ask of us that we should feel the same as the heart feels, and we should connect ourselves to the heart, that's absolutely today as well. As Punkt als we demelt als heint. And that was a mekashes on the Lona de Chaya. So, I remember I was once sitting by a Farbrengens, sitting with, speaking, I think it was Rivka goes, I think a Mansi. And I asked the Shaila, an interesting Shaila. The Alter Rebbe brings the Zayir, the Rebbe kochs the Zayir, it's the Tzadikah, the Rispater, then here, Yater mi b'chayoyi. How do you explain that? It sounds like by Chassidim, you always have to find a silver lining behind every cloud. The Rebbe was the utmost optimist the world ever thought of. There was never something that he looked with a bad eye. In everything you found Avedis Hashem, in everything you found an uplifting moment. So Chassidim got used to such a concept. So leider is a tzadik die istalik, is was, yater mi b'chayois and noch besser. If that will be the case, the pashtas, So I asked them, so Kumtoy says, before Gimel Tammuz heißt das, we Pashat had to be Mispalel, Mosa Yover, when would Gimel Tammuz come? So now they will have the Schia of Yatir B'Bechayev. Versteht sich, das ist ein typisches Einkommen. Yeah? So one of the girls told me, no, be'emes, stakase. It's Yatir B'Bechayev. And the reason why we weren't Mispalel for that before, so she said, because we had both. We had the Rebbe, Chaim Chayusay, in Aguf, and Yatir B'Chayoy, we had the Friediger Rebbe. This is best of both worlds. A klugen Gerempfer. Sehr ist Charis gedreht. So I asked her, heißt das aber Tov Kuf Chav, B'Shas des Talkes of the Baal Shem Tov, there was no Friediger Rebbe. Heißt das, demut haben wir gedacht, muss Spal sein, but the Talkes of the Baal Shem Tov should come. In Elamai, Chaz v'Shalom of such thoughts, Elamai, it's not so, then after it happens, you're telling me it's Yatir B'Chayoy? Yeah. And Teretz is a Apostle Teretz. gesehen, die einzigste weiße Wort da, ich habe noch verlassen, da war Hashem. But so, very few over here, should remember the men's, certainly not the lamets by the Rebbe. We had beepers, Abyssal, yeah, Abyssal, we had beepers, especially after Memches and so on. And jeden zweiten Tag, ich werde nachher Kunteris, nachher Dollar, oder Sicher, noch Meier, and you had to stand guard every second, because after jeder Rebbe read nach Sicher jetzt. And the beeper went off and everybody ran, ganz klar and Heights ran. I used to describe the Bachar in Yeshiva, I used to describe them. I was very interested. It's Thursday night today. Thursday night in summer just begun this week. Thursday night in summer, the traffic going up to the Catskills is a madhouse. Favos, the weekends, and everybody's running home to their family, to their wife and children, to enjoy a little bit of the fresh air up in the Catskills. Well, the Lubavitchers did the same thing, but somehow Friday afternoon, when the rest of the crowd was running up to the Catskills, a big, huge crowd, if not most of us, drove back from the Catskills because it's Shabbos L'Gorchen. The Rebbe geht Farbrengens. Ihr geht sein auf Chofesh, auf Datsche, der Rebbe geht Farbrengens. So alle sind geflogen nach Reus, gefahren nach Reus, and the Rebbe verbrengt, and all of the Lubavitchers came back. Some of us went back out with Shabbos for Sunday to be there. In andere Werte, what I'm trying to say is like this, that before Gimel Tammuz, the Rebbe was mashpia and oifen from Almayla Lamata in such a way that even if he wanted to go to sleep, he couldn't. Pasha, there was no such a concept as gewilzig leben schlafen. So gekocht. The Rebbe had gemont, he suffer, and every day another suffer. Somebody told me that he did on the computer. Today all the Rebbe studies are on the computer, and you can make a search. So he did a search of what is the Rebbe's words that the Rebbe said the most in his life. And I asked a lot of people. Well, some people would say Achdus Hashem, some people would say Mashiach. So somebody told me he did a search, made a stretch of words. What came out, what the Rebbe said the most in his life was Hoisofa in Teire Mitzvahs, which means Hoisofa on top of Hoisofa, and another Hoisofa on top of that Hoisofa. There was never a dull moment. There was never a moment was the Rebbe gekocht, ungemont, and he expected us to do it. In Mamela, on Melmaila Lamata, you had the Sheiches, you were uplifted, we gewent zugebunden von Neuven. And am ist zugebunden von Neuven, fällt man nicht hin. Na Achre Gimel Tammuz, nobody can deny this, that the Metzias says, if Chaz v'Sholom, somebody wants to go to sleep, können sich einreden, als wir Schachafto, wo Orbosch, Nesecho, so Beseder. Alles Beseder. In other words, there's no dollars, no Kunteresa, Rabbi Farbrengens, and a Kapone Begoli. In Bemele, mit Zidenu, mit Zadam Mekablim, ist scheich zu gehen schlafen. Und da kommt rein der Inge von Yatrim mit Bechayoi. Atomer, Achosit, Atomer, Matalmer, Abocher, Ingerman, Afroi, es machlet Bazich, that I cannot be without them. And as the Frierdiker Rebbe said, as ich feel das nicht, then you don't have it either. Because I am your Moyach, I am your Leif, the Nasibi Yisrael is who we are, is our Reish. And b'meila, when ich b'machle, that I cannot be a second without the Rebbe. Demolt is enoch gename, zet men like Yid could have a shaykhis to the Nyanim of the Rebbe in such a way that it's Yatrim B'chayim. But l'choyle Reish, what needs to be done is that we, mitzad HaMakabel, we need to put an effort. We gaan wij zetten Farbrengens, zogen l'chayim, we gaan warmen, ourselves, our mishpacha, and together uplift ourselves. Und zu sagen dem Rebbe, wir sind deine. Wir haben ein Scheiches zu dir. Und demol zu der Inge für Yatrim B'chayim. So say it's not just a statement, it's beide emes lamita. Avada, the Rebbe's door, kipshutoi, geht es easier. Und der Rebbe hebt auf und der Rebbe lost nicht. It's not shaykh to go away. Und der Rebbe ist nicht da, darf man allein zukommen zum Rebbe und gehen auf ein Neuer and make a quiz of lernen dem Rebbe Sinyana, make a quiz to learn Igris of the Rebbe, to the Herren dem in den Yonim of the Rebbe, to leben mit dem Rebbe Saninyan. That Seichel HaTalmud should become Seichel HaRav, that we should live with the Rebbe Sinyana. Stam HaMaisa, a Yigerman told me, I davened in Monsa in the Stiebel. Used to daven in the Stiebel, not a Lubavitcher Stiebel, in my area. I had a shaykhis with a lot of Yigelite, which were first initially big Kanoim, maybe they're still Kanoim, but now, but here is Avat Chassidus, Avat Rebbe, after having a shaykhis for such a long time. So one of the Yigelite told me, there's a good Satmar Chassid. So he told me that the Rabbi, Satmar Rebbe, goes winter, he goes for a vacation to what, Hot Springs, Palm Springs, I don't know which one, Palm Springs in California, by Rabbi Denenbaum. And Rabbi was there. So this young man told me, he says, Rabbi went there for vacation, he decided it's a good time to go along, have some private time there, it's quiet. So he went along for vacation there. He said one morning he came into shul to Rabbi Denenbaum. He says that nobody was there yet, it was 7 o'clock. So Rabbi Denenbaum's son, he said, was home from yeshiva, had an appointment or something. And a person walked in, the person was not from yet, and he said that he has yard site today, he wants to know if there'll be a minyan, he needs to say Kaddish. So I told him, yes, there'll be a minyan soon, at 7:38, there'll be a minyan, you'll be able to say Kaddish. But he said, first, let me ask you something. Can I prepare you for the davening in the right way? Let me put you on a pair of tefillin. The man absolutely refused. As you all bumped in once in a while for such a thing. Absolutely. I came to say Kaddish, and zehu zeh. Don't bother me, don't kriegen the nerven, don't be a nudnik. You know, I came to daven, to say Kaddish. So this young man tells me, you know, me, the way I was brought up, to me, probably it's awesome to put up tefillin on such a Yid. He doesn't have a gufnoki in a place. Who says, well, he's Mahader now? I don't know. He says, but I have to tell you something. I watched this bacher trying to putting on tefillin, and I saw the pain in his eyes. A Yid will nicht legen tefillin. I was able to see a bacher pained. He says, it touched me. I was a fremder. I had no shaykhis to the young. And then he says, then his father walked in, He's already a veteran. Shliach, a chevreman. He says, went over to the guy, tapped him on the shoulder 3 times. He had 2 jokes. And within 3 minutes, the guy had film on. He says, you should have seen this bacher. He says, Poshet, as he steht im Posik, as Alfei Zoe v'chasam. He said, as a simcha, a hit had gelegt zu. And I heard that story from a friend when he had the Zeil the Meise. Poshet hat sich abgelegt, as the Avoide von Atomim darf sein, that on das, wo der Rebbe kocht und was der Rebbe lehrt, the Friedrich Rebbe sagt, aber ich feel das nicht, you can't feel it. If I feel it, then the limbs feel it too. If the heart trembles, then the limbs start shaking. It goes together. So nicht that we listen. It's not that we listen. That's also true, that we have to listen to the Rebbe. But that could be a Rosh Hashiva too. You listen to a Rosh Hashiva. You listen to a Meir Derech. But then there's something, not you listen. You are chelik of that. I remember I went to Heichel Menachem. You know what Heichel Menachem is? I'm sure you all know this. Idea for Pedusha. So that one of them made a bar mitzvah. When I came there, they asked me to speak. So I wished the father, bar mitzvah bacher, should give you a sach nachas, baby should a sach nachas. Tat mama say this babas and give them Rebbe a sach nachas. So I got such looks from many in the crowd, the parents and the uncles who are not part of Heichel Menachem, and they looked at me and they asked me, you probably won't understand the kasha anyway, but let me try to explain it. They asked me, was das nachas von Rebbe? And I looked at them and says, was nicht. It says to get nachas von Rebbe. And these are chassidische Yidden. Chassidische Yidden. It says, ich verstehe nicht. So they said, nachas, you give to a tata, to a mama. A mama hat nachas von a kind. A tata hat nachas von a kind. A Rebbe is somebody that is a Meir Derech. You listen to him, you follow what he tells you. So I had to take a lot of l'chaim. And they sit a bissel of Farbrengens a bissel. And then a person also asked the question, or maybe I'm mixing up 2 Farbrengens, whatever, but it was both through a lot of l'chaim. The person asked the question, why doesn't the Lubavitch take a new Rebbe?
Why doesn't the Lubavitch?
Take a new Rebbe. All Chassidim always took a Rebbe. Well, that's how it went. Mamala Mokim, why not? So that's a very tough situation to explain to other people, and I had to. So I asked them a shayla. At first I told them, I don't know what you want from me. I'm not a candidate, so frag hat zweiten, was willst du für mich? Ich weiß nicht. But it didn't help. He started to press on me. So I asked him, can you go over to Rahman al-Islam, a 7-year-old kid who lost his mother? Rahman al-Islam, Ayosa, Ayusayman, and ask them, why don't you get a new mother? What? You could get adopted by a family and you could have a mother, a person who cares very much about you. And stepmother. And she could do the laundry even better than your mother did. And maybe help you with homework even also much better. Thank you very much. Much better than your mother did. Very shy. So was nicht. Aber a mama is da eine. You go to school, you can have one teacher for math, and you can have one teacher for English, and one teacher for science, for was nicht. But man kann nur haben ein Mama. A chosset mit a Rebbe zu verstehen, was they didn't understand, is a Rebbe is a teacher. The teach of a Rebbe means, the Pasha to teach means, a teacher. You made it there. In Mele, wo kommt rein nachas? Aber darf der Herrn, als a chosset mit a Rebbe, als wie an Ever, was der Herz geht raus, und das ist der Ever mekabel. it's absolutely interrelated, interconnected through neurons. It's eight mitzias. In Bemela, it's a gimel tamas ein nach. Und laachrei, was man darf haben eigene Keuches, auf sich Makasha sein zum Leif, because it's Yatir with the Chayayim, and we have the Keuches to do that. So wir sitzen ein bisschen zusammen, und lauf Davke, that I have to talk the whole time, somebody else could say Avar Teichet, und sich Machazik sein, sich Makasha sein, Leilona de Chayim, and to have the Keuches that the Rebbe gives us, and the Rebbe gave us, and the Yonim, which Rebbe Kochs. I just gonna say one word.
Chaim.
Not whatever. Oh, Nil v'nechel. Chsidim, Nilim, Chsidim, Okay. Nee, nicht gehört. Yeah. There's a bunch.
How's Mechi?
L'chaim. It's a perfect time to speak now. The Weltzak never compete with food. So the Mela, you do the eating and I'll do the talking with the Gewaldig. Don't compete. L'chaim. I remember in the early months when I started to come to Lubavitch, standing in Farbrengens in 1970, when Yesh Shleimer, more than Yesh Shleimer, that there were certain sikhs that I probably didn't understand, certain inyanim till I got to know the Rebbe's sprach, the Rebbe's signal, the Rebbe's style, and I was standing there. And then I saw a few other people, Streimlich, people from Borough Park, other places, and I asked the person if he understands. And at least we learned Chassidus already before. Because a person didn't sound like he learned Chassidus or anything, and I asked him what he's doing here. I'm gefragt, versteht Dr. No, he doesn't understand. So he says, so I asked him, why you come here for? Why do you come for dollars, for brachas, kishel bracha? If you don't understand what he says, I understand the end of every sikh. And the Rebbe vier toys. The Rebbe sich treffen in Yerushalayim, in Akedesh, and Harabayis, Moshe v'Haron Imohem. Says those the words. So I said, for that you have to come here. Sit down with your family at home, take a couple of chayim, and say, Mashiach kommt, man geht sich treffen, Moshe Rabbeinu mit Aaron Akedesh, Mis Hamikdash. And he says, what was the Reistak? If you hear it coming out from Pek Kodesh, from the Leiv of Yisrael, you hear the Gaguim, he says it changes my kishkas. That's why I come. So he comes, he stands for hours, doesn't understand the word of the sikhs. But I versteht alt sehr, sehr gut. They say that the Meir Shapiro once came to America to fundraise his yeshiva, and they took him into a big shul, and he gave his drasha, versteht sich, he gave it in an authentic Yiddish, and the elder Yidden in America still understood Yiddish. As he walked out the bima, there was a 14-year-old kid standing next to the bima. He wanted to come see the rabbi from Europe, and as he comes down the bima, so he motions to this kid, did you understand what I said? And this kid showed him, God, nothing. And one word I got. He says, you were talking about guilt. Guilt. So he said, that kid understood better than everybody else. The Gancz the mice. You know? So come nach der Yid, come der Chassid, and maybe the Oisius it didn't get. Maybe the Oisius it didn't get. But the hearts the Iskashrus, the Emunah, and the Bitochen, where the Rebbe uplifted us, where the Rebbe put us in a completely different light and everything, but that the other Shaykhs. So tonight I want to talk about Einu Kuda, perhaps, at least. As we mentioned before, the Rebbe kocht in a Sofer Teira Mitzvahs. One of the things the Rebbe kocht always was in the Lashon HaMishnah. Ani nivreisi l'shamash eskoini, and the Rebbe would say it like that. Ani nivreisi l'shamash eskoini, or like the other girsa, Ani loy nivreisi elo l'shamash eskoini. So that's sicher for Rebbe. The Rebbe explains that the Dalet Shomrim. The Dalet Shomrim, there's a shoyel. Shoyel is chayiv on onsen, is chayiv on everything. Then there's a seichid, and a shemer sachid, and a shemer china. So a shoyel, in the pshat, is the most greedy person you can think of. Is ich darf, I need something. You don't know ich. And if I need this, I'll borrow it. I'm not even paying for it. I'm not mahana anybody else. It's ich. And that's why it's chayav and everything. Then there is a seicher. A seicher is echt the other seicher. A seicher also thinks about himself. I need a car, so I'm going to rent a car. Ich verstehe, but I understand that sof kol sof. So don't know Haman. She also needs to live. So you know what? I'll pay him for him. He needs to make a living. I'll pay for the car. But what's the pu'ula? What's the teichen of my whole deal over here? Is that I need a car. Now, there's no free lunch. If there's no free lunch, okay, so I can't get it for free. I'll pay for it. Noch them, there is a shemer sacher. Shemer sacher is the pu'ula pukta verkehrt. I have a chaver who's traveling to Eretz Yisrael for 2 weeks, and he has expensive chafetzim. They need to be guarded and watched. He can't leave it alone. So he needs somebody to do him a favor to help him out. So he is there for a chaver, for a tzveit, I need to help somebody. So I'm there to help a chaver. Nor was that. Ich darf dich ruhig machen allein. And I don't have the time, I need to, I'm taking off from work, whatever. Okay, so he is going to pay me, but the pu'ula is was. Ich help a zweiten Yid, I'm here for somebody else. And finally, like the Mishnah says, Al tiyu kavodim, am shamshem esarav, am anaskel kabul preas, odas Hashem erchinen. There's a zweiter Yid who needs help. He needs to be helped with watching his stuff. And I am there for him. Ich will mechlal mito. But what do I get for nothing? Is da ich bin da. So the Rebbe Masber in Avodas Hashem, you also have these 4 dagas. And those who think everything about sich. Nach dem Midah, a seicher. A seicher thinks absolutely about himself. But again, there's no free lunch, so he understands. If you want to have parnasa, if you want to have gesund, if you need nachas, the only way you do it is by keeping mitzvahs. V'rat Hashem Teira mitzvahs not shaykh. V'rat lo asad lavo, v'rat lo ilam haba. You're having nothing if you didn't. But the whole matzah, the whole nekuda is avuganich. Then hebt sich an the avodah Chassidus Yid hebt sich an for Hashem Yisach. The erste nekuda in Chassidus Yid kracht was will der Rebst. Nooit Mulvade, Efer zu lassen. Und der Rebste beschafft die ganze Welt, Mahava Bechaya, as we're learning now, Sharichin Vamunah. Der Rebste Mahava Bechaya, the Welt der Rege. Is a mitis zu Motze, nimmt sie Kolon in Zoyim. Hule Vade, ve'ein zu lassen. What am I here to do for him? I was then, it's like a soldier. A soldier in the field, but he has a family, they need to be fed. So he gets a schar, he gets a stipend, he gets something. But what is a soldier? A soldier is enlisted. He's not a civil worker who goes overseas helping out the army and gets paid. There are such people. There's civil engineers who go overseas and they work hand in hand together with the soldiers and they get paid. It happens to be sometimes in a danger zone too. He's a private person. He is there simply like I work in B&H, and somebody works in Morristown, and somebody works someplace else. He works for the United States government. Has no shaykhs with being sympathetic or anything. It's just a job. And then there's the uptouch, the Ashton, there's a soldier. Oh, dos, a zweite Meise. Ani lo nevresi elo l'shamash eskein. Then with the dargis, whether he's interested in schar because he can't without it, or he's not interested in schar. And the Rebbe's cook was always, the Rebbe gechazert us, and the Nekuda, the Rebbe was gechazert. I just remember, I had a chaver, we made a dinner once for our Chabad house, many years ago. We went into a catering house to sit down with the caterer to dinner. And for business, it's good to have pictures on the wall. Besides having nice plates of steak and others, one wall has pictures of all Rebbes. Of Litvish Gedalim and of all Rebbes. So Acharet looked up and he showed me, he says, Weisberg, tell me what is the difference between all these pictures and the Rebbe. I had a picture of the Rebbe too. There. You know, the juxtaposition of standing next to each other says, tell me what's the chiluk. He says, I can't start on godless who's bigger. No, I'm not here judging. He says, take a look. He says, you cannot see a picture of any Rebbe, either from Achte, oder tanzen mit der Kalle, mit der Gartel. He says, der Rebbe steht schweichelt und macht Hai. Simple. Und verlangt der tiefste in Jönem. Ani lo nivresi elo l'shamash eskoini, but chevre, da passt es. Und das ist, not im Kippur bei Nila, Simchas Beis HaSho'iva mit der Kech, no. Poshet, a Poshet im Mittwoch, a Poshet im Dienstag. Und dort, der Ani lo nivresi elo l'shamash eskoini, was the Rebbe's sprach in every letter in the Igris. Every person was tzebrach in Avelach and Inyan. If you start to change our thoughts in that way, when sometimes things don't go the way that we want. Life is not always a bowl of cherries, as they say. So things are, it's crests and valleys, and that's what life is. But the Rebbe Shtere gesagt, the after is Hashem Elokecha, v'chol levavecha, v'chol nafshecha, v'chol v'yedecha. Sometimes b'chol levavecha means mit a simcha, mit dem ganzen Herz. Ich tanze für den Rebbe Shtere. Und am alles b'chol nafshecha, am alles Mesiras Nefesh. Und der Rebbe Shtere will sagen, dort du betochen in die Emunah, Punkt, da bist du gewähnt b'chol levavecha. And I'm all have to give away your whole eat, your whole being, and in every Zman is ein Zach, like a Navy SEAL. It could be 14 nights in a ditch, and maybe they threw him a sandwich over there because every 24 hours once. And all he does once looks at the window and standing when he'll see Osama bin Laden and pull his gun out. And he comes back and he's the most joyous person in the world. Ados ani lo nivresi, ados in mein Arbeit. If you look at it that way, the Rebbe hat reingeblasen, Nebru Achayim in us. They tell a story. I'm not sure where I heard it. Somebody told me, Slavatitzky, I'm not sure. Tell a story that there were Bacharim going on Fitzaim, and they went in Flatbush or in Borough Park, and they saw a Bachalo, 14, 15, maybe a 17, 18-year-old Bachalo, standing on the stairs, coming down his yeshiva, and crying bitterly. The Bachalo went over to him and tried to calm him down, fragen was. So they didn't want to answer. Finally, kids between themselves, open hearts. So finally, he told them a story. He told them that he has a schwache Kopf, and the London gate, and he's toiling for 5 weeks over one Amud Gemara. And even after that, shvacha maises. He says, of tzilahachis, the one who sits next to him, learns 5 blat every week. With all the tastes, with all the rishonim. He's an ilui mamish, genius. And he kochs in it, and he knows it so good. And he says that it eats my heart out. I just can't find my place here anymore. And I decided I'm becoming a truck driver. It's over. I'm eating everything. An 18-wheeler. That's what I eat. 18-wheeler. The kid said before he takes such a drastic step, he said he went to his mashgiach. He told his mashgiach about it. The mashgiach told him, can't have times to the Eibush to sof kol sof. Can't really say him, Avdilin, you never know, and gezindig tamal, macht atim tamalev. He said, fine, thank you very much. But it doesn't help me much. I need 18-wheeler. And he went to his yeshiva, says yeshiva, held to the bench, with veige hand, took his hand in his hand. He told him, du hast gesindig, du hast eine teile Woche, tzadikol. Man kann nicht wissen, you never know, Friedige Gilgul, aber weiter, größten Dank, danke. Man laat het goed zijn, but met meer auto's nicht. So, but I, on my way out, so he tells the Bachelach, so shouldn't I cry? I'm saying goodbye for the last time in my life at yeshiva life, with all the Bachelim together, all my friends. I'm going to go off to this alienated place, to Midbar, Shemama. What should I do? I can't. It's not for me. So, versteht sich, Alababitch Bachelach, as a meister, he tells him, no, wait. You have to write a letter to the Lubavitch Rebbe. So this Bachel says, me, the Lubavitch Rebbe, my Litvische Bachel was a Shaykh. But they nagged enough. He says, there's nothing to lose. So he wrote a letter. Sure enough, he got an answer. And the answer was, the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, Shnei Mina Matamim. There's 2 types of Matamim, the Rebbe Hat. Because everybody here is only here for one thing. Ani lo nivresi elo shamash eskeinu. And what I could do, nobody could do. Mashiach can't do it. David HaMelech couldn't do it, and Adam HaRishon couldn't do it. How do I know? Because Leibora Kadosh Baruch Hu davar echad levatol. And if I'm here, it's my job. I'm the one that I could do it. So the Rebbe told him, Ein nachas an himmel, it's from the one that sits next to you. 5 blood Gemara Avachu told the Rishonim. He knows it well with Chazara, up 18 hours a day, toils in it. Nachas Adai Kates. Then there's another Nachas Shemayim, from that Bacher who sits next to that Ilu, that learns 1 Omet in 5 weeks, and he toils, and sof come that he knows a little bit. One Nachas and Shemayim the Rebbe out from that Bacher. You want to take away that Nachas from the Rebbeinu Shalom and leave yeshiva? So, versteht sich all, you know what's the second half of the story? Amoifis. They say that at the end he became a größer Dayan, a größer Yeshiva, a größer Rabbi. I never checked up on the story. To me, the first half of the story is way, way bigger than Moifis than whatever happened to him. The Rebbe's pashtesdike look of jeden klein kind that Adonilo Nivresi Elo L'Shamash is in every letter, in every sicha, in every maimer. That does was mir leben, that's what we breathe. That's who we are. That changes the whole mahalach. You know, in Morristown there was a yeshiva in Tferes, Bachurim, his name was David Wichner. Anybody here remembers of David Wichner? It was the Rav in Muncie. Nebuch passed away at a young age of 56. He was never diagnosed with Yanamachna. And even after he was diagnosed, he never missed yeshiva day. Came to yeshiva, and he had a minute that twice a week he slept over, because Tuesday morning, early 6 o'clock in the morning, he gave a shiur for a certain group of Bacharim of Baal Tshuva in Tferes. So therefore, you had to be there. Nothing changed. Sick, with treatments, following the board, with alamaisis. He was exactly there as if nothing changed. The last few days of his life, he went perhaps the California alternative medicine or something which didn't work. But he left to go there from yeshiva with a taxi. I think his wife took an extra separate taxi from Monsey to the airport. Ad Yom Achrein. Maybe Masa Eseg HaManoicha Lebeisi. Maybe he should go home now. Tshuvaton, ending Shas, zugreiten, so sagen, Tilometel Chamal, a few Tanesen. Greit sich zu, a lange Weg. No. Der Rebbe hat mir gemacht als Schliach, mein Schliches. Mein Avoide, eine Schäme. Mein Avoide, mein Schmiere ist da. Jede Wort, was ich sage für eine Woche, that I teach every day, he will remember Leila Wort, mit der Eingein, immer machen am Sprache, auf Loderi Säule. Und das ist mein Schliches. Nothing to be changed. Der Opleik von der Chassid. Das, what the Rebbe, das, what the hearts feel, the Avrim go along with that. The Avrim, the hand and the feet go along with that. Mina Nivresi, als we say that. Das ist mein Schliches. Und einmal das ist so, einmal tanzt man, und einmal ist auf einen anderen Neufel. Und sehr gut. And the way the Rebbe made it is in the most pashtistic way. Was the pashta pshat? The pashta Amuna in Teire, Amuna in Chazal, Anila in Reisi Ella, the Shabbos is king. And Chaim.
This your menu, we're going to be Hasidim, right?
L'chaim, l'chaim. We say every day in davening, Hashem Melech, Hashem Moloch, Hashem Yimloich L'yoylam Vod. You ask anybody, was versteht als Seder wie, dat de dik do grammar or Seder in London, it's an interessante Seder. Either you go past, present, future, or you go future, present, past. You start with the present, and you go back and you go forth. Hashem Melech, it's Tizer Melech. Then you say Hashem Moloch, and then I say Hashem Yimloch. And the teretz is there a poshet teretz. At the tachlis of everything in the world is Be'emes Hashem Melech. Everybody knows that the Rebbe Rashab came out with the idea that Yutas Kislev, Rosh Hashanah, Lachsidus, Chag HaChagim, and the Tainus, the Misnagdische Welt hat gehabt of them, Tamod Nezach, that the Mishnah says, Arba Rosh Hashanah, now we have the fourth Rosh Hashanah, was Pshat in them. Yeah? I'm sure you all heard the Kashas, yeah? What's the Pshat? Let's ask ourselves the Kasha. Take Sai Welche Frumme Yid, and ask him a Shaila, sag nur, du glaubst in Yitzias Mitzrayim? Which Yid do you have today doesn't believe in Yitzias Mitzrayim? A Frumme Yid? Alle glauben in Yitzias Mitzrayim. Kriyas Yamsuf, Matan Teire, alle glauben, dass sie gewähren lichtige Tag bei Yidden. Yidden hat Moshe Rabbeinu, Yidden hat Tanoim, Amoiroim, Rishonim, Anshe Knesses Agdele, we had Nevi'im. Then ask you, du glaubst, es kommen einmal eine Zeit, hinne Yomim, Boim, Neum Hashem, es kommen lichtige Tag, ki meitzesche meheretz Mitzrayim, erinnern und Flois, Mashiach geht kommen. Ja, der Jid sagt, eine Mama, bei Munu Shalema, sing dem Nigen, Wafapish is Mamea, Aber im Kalzeh, Sof kol Sof, le'osid lovoi, achakeloi. Geht kommen. Aber was ihr heint? Monkey in the middle. Sag ich, bleibst du heint in der Zeit, was beweist am Eufes? Yeah, nicht, maybe, ich weiß. Skeptic. Aber was? Because the past and the future is sehr gering zu leben mit them. Halt nicht mit mir. The past could be very great and the future could be very glorious. But don't tell me that my moment, jetzt. Chazal made a Yontav, Purim. Es war ein Nes, ein gewaltiger Nes, Purim. Chanukah was a gewaltiger Nes, das alles gewähnt. But tell me that what? Der dein Rebbe so ist gelesen geworden für Twisa. Und das hat das Scheiches zu Ölem Soljenem, zu Aziles, zu alles Sphäre Soljenes, und mit der Meile und der Mathe, also wie steht nicht alles, das ist mit der Schmaim, Jöim Pseudohu, 100 years before the whole thing happened. Und das echt, ob es ein Ruchen ist, die Kiringen, this day is a completely different day than any other day. Chazal saw these things, amal gezeigt. Der Oplake ist Chalila nimmt sich von einer Stickel, also bezeir Amper, ein Stickel Kfire, die Kinder her. Also Rachmana Latzlan, also was Hashem sagt, we go in time. Der Rebster ist sehr groß. Yeah, but when Tzadikim were here, there was grace. Was in Demont. Mashiach had kommen. Chies Amesim, we have all the Tzadikim. But den heintigen Deur, ich wusste den Mashiach. Mir klein kappeldike Jiden, mir kleine Jiden, Poshete, Balabate, live in East Flatbush, Poshete Jiden, Teire, ja gut, in order, wie steht es vor, wenn Mashiach hat kommen, we shouldn't forget about mitzvahs, so we also do some mitzvahs. Chinuch, steht da nicht schön, was wird. Mach es schon weg, Chalila. Aber zu der Herrn, nach der Emes la Mitte, der Rebischter ist Yoshev und Marti, nach Asriach Ruach Lefona ist schon Marti, und Nasser Ezeini. Zu der Herrn, dem nach Asruach, wo der Rebischter hat von Pashat Heint. We begin with Hashem Melech. Heint. Als Heint ist Punkt, also sagt man, Heint ist Hashem Melech. La'achrei Gimel Tammuz, when I was born, when I which day and which month and which year and which city I live, in Pashat, with mein Arbeit und mein Business, wo ich bin, is Hashem Melech. Punkt, also wie the same way was Hashem Molach, die Zeiten von Moshe Aharon. Und der Zeiten für Shlomo HaMelech und David HaMelech und Beis Hamikdash Rishon, when there was Urim V'Tumim, und also wie Hashem Imloich Li'olam Vod und Mashiach hat kommen, und also ist Heint Hashem Melech, derselbe Hashem Melech. Derselbe passt es zu der Herrn der Lekus, aber passt es die Knöpfe. Und der Ani, which is a kleiner Ani, früher hat man geredet, der Rebbe's kochen, Ani Leute vreisi, alle L'shamash Askeni, as was, that I shouldn't think I'm here for me, I'm a shoyl. Ich bin dort, zu dienen dem Eibishter, I'm a Navy SEAL, I belong in Zivis Hashem, ich bin Rebbe's Achosset, ich bin a Schliach von Rebbe, ma Schliach von Eibishter jeder Rege. Jetzt darf man der Herr noch an der Kutte. Besides that I'm not thinking about myself, somehow tracht man, mi anoichi, wer bin ich? Eludisha, Karetz Machaimer, ich wisse den Mashiach, ich weiß, was ich habe aufgetan in mein Leben, ich weiß, was ich halte. Der Rebbe hat aufgehoben jeden Nefesh auf der Welt. Because why? Weil Barak Kodesh Baruch Dover Echet Levatala. Mit dem Rebbe's Pashtos die gekuk. So the Rebbe's Pashtos die gekuk. I once heard from Rabbi Olav Shalom, and he said the Welt meint, that there were two Baal Shem Tovs. There was one Baal Shem Tov who had Shishim Gebeirim, Soviv Law. He had the Toldos, and he had the Mecheles Lotchever. He had this Go'inim, Gewaldige Go'inim, and Tzadikim, Gemurim that he had. They were his Talmidim, and with them he was Meyached Yechidim, and he was learning Kabbalah and Zohar, and it Farbrengens with the Baal Shem Tov came. And then there's another Baal Shem Tov, that the Sipurei Maisias go about. That he was Mekaref Pashtiiden, and he uplifted, told them stories of Ein Yankiv, and he made them feel good, and so on. Is so that's the second Baal Shem Tov, which vernennt sich mit Pashtiim. So wie said, a Toyes Muchland. It's a Toyes Muchland. Only there Baal Shem Tov, that it was so lemaile gevoya mal gevoya, that der Herr hat Zmusse in Husse Yisbarach. Und der was kennt der Herr in jeden Pashtiim Hit, hat jeder Hit, was das Achelik von der Kamer mal Mamash. Somebody start a going oilem, and I feel like Tzadi Gomer is verkehrt. Was hat Shaykh is, und Aidus haben gesündigt haben. Only the Baal Shem Tov, because there's Gevoya mal Gevoya, und dem Emerson Shaykh is zum Eibischen, Tzanilo in die Breise, Elo Shamash is König, kennt der Herr in dem Pashtus, a jeder Pashat der Yid, a Pashat der Balabos, my Peula, my little thing today, my Moida Ani von Haynt, mein Shir, mein Kviyah Sittem in the morning, mein Kviyah Sittem at night, und auf dem steht, als Musse im Husse, wart jeden Tag auf dem. Also wie sie gewähnt Hashem Melech Amol, und also wie sie sein Hashem Melech. Und der Herr, I once heard a Maisa, actually my son told me, that he was also in Belgium, Shabbos, I think I heard it from him too, that and Shlomo Zalman Auerbach was once walking in Yerushalayim, and he went to the Kaisel, and he saw Lubavitch Yid, a Talmud Tantzvil, somebody in the Kaisel. So he saw somebody, he saw Yita Lubavitch Yid Talmud Tzoy with Talmud Tantzvil for somebody with the Kaisel. So Shlomo Zalman Auerbach hat sich aufgestellt, und gesagt hat, der Welt hat Toys in Lubavitch Rebbe. They think the Lubavitch Rebbe is a gewaltige Godel b'Yisrael, a goy in Oilam, and a Godel in Amunah b'tochen. He talks about the Eibishter, godless Haboyre, about Mashiach. He says that he has this Amunah, unbelievable Amunah, and Chizuk, v'chulu, v'chulu. He says, little did they know that the godless of the Lubavitch Rebbe is, there's gewaldige Amunah in jeden Poshet Yid. And das is his godless. And the Rebbe gleibt Poshet Kipshuta in jeden Yid. We're so used to this. Take a 60-year-old kid, send him off to go do miftzayim, doesn't know English properly, and stops the person in the middle of the gas. The guy has a suit which is worth $5,000. His tie is worth $8,000. He walks now to close down on a deal on one of the skyscrapers in Manhattan, about to sign on it, and the man is a billionaire. He's 6 foot tall. And a shmeiger, a 16-jähriger who goes on nudnik and goes over to the guy, excuse me, sir, are you Jewish? Are you Jewish? Bug off, mind your own business. Well, what is this? Did you ever saw in a civilized, normal world such a hanhage? We think that Shlichus started with making a nice suda and have a comedian come, and people come to socialize. And by the way, a good word. That's not where it started. It starts with Miftzayim. You knock on the door, and excuse me, sir, are you Jewish? I once had a mice, I stopped a person on Miftzayim and asked him, excuse me, sir, are you Jewish? And the guy looks at me, and he gave me that feeling, and he says, Rabbi, I was Yugamanchi. He says, Rabbi, can you mind your own business, please? That was a chutzpah. So I told him, that's exactly what I'm trying to do. He says, what? He says, that's exactly what I'm... He says, what? He says, you might be a doctor, you might be a lawyer, you might be a real estate developer, might have millions of dollars. But how about minding your own business for once? Forget about your parnasa. You're a Yid, no? So how about minding your own business about who you are? Let's come put on some tefillin. The guy looked at me, he stopped, came up to the mitzvah tank, rolled up his sleeve. You think my answer did anything? You can't take such, because the Rebbe did heard that liegt an Neshama chelik lekam mal mamus. Who weighs the emes lamita that nothing else counts all around, doesn't count. That ani, that emes ani is lo nivrei siel l'shama sheskeni. And that's what the Rebbe taught us. I just remind myself a personal story. When we opened the Chabad house in Suffern, so the first Shabbos we had a Kiddush. We sat around the Kiddush, and I asked everybody to introduce themselves, say Avar, to Kesher, to Chabad, to Yiddishkeit. So the first person I stopped and I asked him to speak. His name was Mr. Pellis, Olav Shalom. He said, Rabbi, I don't speak in public. I'm a very, very, very shy person. Taka was a very quiet, shy person. The limelight is not for me. When I take a mic in my hand, it starts to make noise. So I said, okay, he sat down, and the next person, the whole crowd went around. And then I spoke, I was the last one on the side. After I finished, Mr. Pellis stood up. He says, Rabbi Gancz, I heard everybody's talking. I was inspired. Can I say a word? I said, of course. He stood up and he told a story. Once upon a Friday, that's what he said, it was very cute. Once upon a Friday, the Lubavitchers are doing what they're doing. So there was a pair of two young kids, 14, 15, I don't know. They walked up the Fifth Avenue Library. It's a landmark. It's a whole block wide. Stairs, the whole marble stairs. It says there was a mother, a father, and a young kid, a 3-year-old kid, walking down, and they walked up to approach them. And sure enough, kids meet with kids better than with adults. So they turned to this little girl and they asked her, "Are you Jewish?" And she gave this $1 million smile, proud to be Jewish. Didn't have a yetzer yet. Of course. She says, "Yes." So they asked her, "Are you lighting Shabbos candles?" She started shrugging her shoulders. Me, Shabbos candles, me, a kid, what was that? So they asked her, "Your mommy does?" She said, "My mommy, when she's not busy, when she doesn't have a business call that evening, sometimes Friday night, when we make a meal, she does." So they took out neshek, they gave it to the little girl, and they told her that the Lubavitcher Rebbe demands and asks and requests. It's a Welt von Choshech, Kofel and Chuppel. We need to bring more light into the world. It's made for every Yid, for every little kid from 3 years and on, and you should do it too. And they gave her the candles. And that Yid continues to tell the story weiter. He says that little girl never missed a Shabbos, whether the mother was busy or not, but that little girl never missed a Shabbos. She's now married and she has 6 kids. She lives in the 5 towns, and she's the mikveh lady. And then he starts cracking up and he couldn't talk anymore, he starts crying. And he says, that little girl is my daughter. And I told him, Mr. Palace, this is the story you wanted to keep back from us? This is the story you were meant to be shy about? There are a few millions of such stories. They're not written up in Kvar Chabad, not in Beis Mashiach, not in any other magazine, because they're just between the Eibishter, the Rebbe, and that person. And those two Bacharim, sometimes they think they're a failure, sometimes they don't think they're a failure. So this little girl smiled, and she took the 2 candles. Do they know what she did with that? Did she ever lit them? Did it go right to the garbage? But the Rebbe Samuna, that little kid wasn't the Tomim. That little kid didn't go Beis Rivka. That little kid was Abbas, Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Bas, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Leah. That's all. That's all, not just that. A Yiddish kids. Und der Rebbe's Rachmanis, and the Rebbe's Cook, and the Rebbe made an entire military. Ausgestellt, als Seder, Besuder von 50, 60 Jahren, was geht on. We go out on Fridays and Chanukah and Purim to lit candles, to lit menorahs. The flames that burn today of families of Deir Salem because of that. You know what the Rebbe believes in me and in you? What the Rebbe gleibt in Ayidin? If we should have that look on us the way the Rebbe looks at us. It's after Gimel Tammuz. I never got $1 from the Rebbe. Never got a kunteres from the Rebbe. It's not Hashem Moloch, no. But it's Hashem Melech. Heint! The Rebbe is metun, siater me bechayoyu, but he asks of us, light the candle. Demand. Kuma v'noyel. Put on a video, einmal a Woch, zweimal a Woch, sit down with your kinderlich, the kviyas, zu hören a Yiddish word, zu hören dem Rebbe, zu hören the hearts, that the limbs should feel the hearts. And to have a kesher. It changes, it lifts up. Ich glaube, sag wie an outcast, a zman which does not befit it. Today, this to be a mall, so this morning. I was thinking, on Shabbos, I was talking in the shul by Adel Shtil where I daven. I was thinking an interessante Sache that the Rebbe had a campaign about Mashiach. And the Rebbe kochte this Miyome Volde. As everybody knows the letter that the Rebbe answered, that since I went to Cheder and even earlier, I was thinking, that famous letter. This is the Rebbe's. The Rebbe Tavegis had a mission statement. Nobody else did that. The Rebbe had a mission statement. You know, it's the day that Shvi, we have a job. Moshe Rabbeinu Tarog bring the Shechina Lamata. It's our job. Rabbi bring the Shechina Lamata, Mata, Mashiach Mamish. As we know, Kol Boso Yagdef. And why was it such a hard job? The Welt, the Tainas, the Yonah. So this is Kabul V'tach given as in Poshut. I remember at a vision to Yigaban and Muncie. He was always a masker to what the Rebbe said last year, but not what he's saying this year. But the Rebbe last year gave him Moiridik. Last year the Rebbe gesagt hat, Mashiach kommt, jeden Dore da Mashiach. Versteht sich, in Avada. Yeah. But now we started singing his song. We want Mashiach now, please. You're making it cheap, you're making it billig. Anigin gemacht for them. We want Mashiach now. Yeah, in Davoner we say, Semach David, Zavzena, Ineinu, good. In Davoner, macht Anigin from them. Then, a year later, Tavshin Nun Aleph, Tavshin Nun Bey, sagt er, yeah, I'm all about gesingen, and you want Mashiach now, you know what a chener had. The Rebbe dog event. He could have become Mashiach every second. Could have walked in. Gesingen, alle Chassidim stehen. Das muss ich werden echten, sonst beseiden. You know, but then the Gesundheit, you know. And then after Gimel Tammuz, you know, also gegangen. So I told this guy, you know, you should know, you have no problem with Lubavitch, you have no problem with it. You have a serious problem with Mashiach. And as more as it becomes real, it's tzores. It's like Rabbi Yoel knows Masber. It's like, you know, Gamva Pumachtarta, Rachmanu Karya, Amunah is Ba'ofen Shalmakit. What does that mean? So the Gemara says, what does that mean? Somebody comes to the Torah and they ask him, you have Eidim? If he says no, the case is closed. You have no Raya. So if he says, I have Eidim, they'll tell him, okay, so bring them. You have 3 days to bring them. You don't bring them, it's over. So what do you say? I have to Eidim, but they live in Australia. In the Lubavitcher Chassidim, they don't travel between Pesach and Shavuos. They don't come through the date line, and it's too expensive for them to go around the world. So until 6 months, I can't get them. He buys time. Meanwhile, he buys time. As was. And what did he gain? The bottom line is, self-kosov, is Galavin. But meanwhile, Mashiach geht kommen, Hashem Yimloich is okay. Hashem Melech. The Bible says, Mashiach kommt heint. Da in America. A boss of a dom? What? This is a shver avodah. Hashem Melech is a shver avodah. You know, everybody knows the mashal of the Mittler Rebbe. I'm not going to say it over now. The mashal with the pit, where a mother and father was thrown in, a new generation was born. You all know that story, yeah? So 7 generations later, they're by Minim, and they're, yeah. So, all the Maminim in a pit, easy for them to believe that above the pit is a beautiful world. Is it so hard to believe? It's so hard to believe. We live in Olam Hazeh Gashmi. You know, we know there are energies in this world. We know the Hecher Zachen, which things we don't understand. So there's Olam Haba, and over there it's totally spiritual. Tzadikim, Yoshua, Vatreseim, Beresheim, Benehenim, Ziva, Shchina. That's another world. Very easy to remember that, but to believe in that. Can you imagine? Tell a person that your pit, that your stone that you're sleeping on is a pillow. That stone is becoming tomorrow a normal pillow. That pit where you are, as Eretz Atzvi, Eretz Yisrael, as an Eretz Atzvi, that this pit will be Nisrachiv, bigger than the whole entire universe. No. Don't tell me stories about my pit. My pit is the pit. This besorgen meistens, as da in Olam Elyon da, Tzviras, und ja, Atzilas, gut. Willst seine Ehrlichkeit mit vergleichsten Augen, sehr gut. Und nicht Poshet also, mit der Poshet Nistik. Und der Hanoche, der Rebbe passt es in allen Jahren. Und das ist not an easy pill to swallow. Das ist der Rebbe Hanoche in jeder Nekude, der ein Oid Movado, in Efes Zolosso, in jedem Letter, in jedem Brief von Amun und Betochen. Mit der Pastes. I remember at the Gulf War, the Rebbe announced at the Gulf War, you all know that. I don't know if you remember that, but you probably do that. Yeah. In the Gulf War, the Rebbe gave in the 90s, yeah. No. So the Rebbe announced that Eretz Yisrael is the safest place in the world. Nicht announced. He told us to announce it on INS on the radio. I remember it. You know, a few times a day it was announced. The Lubavitch Rebbe says that the Eretz Yisrael is the safest place. I had people from my Chabad house who came for dollars, and they told the Rebbe that they're going to Eretz Yisrael. With empty planes, they couldn't get a ticket over. There was no planes going there. And he said the Rebbe encouraged them. The Rebbe gave them extra dollars. The Rebbe told them to go. They take along Chaveirim and Chulu. The whole world was flying out, coming out of there. Only the few Shigorim, a few Lubavitch was going to Eretz Yisrael. Lubavitch Rebbe announced, safest place on earth. I remember I had to take off my phone. Because the first night when the war started, CBS had already eyewitnesses that there's gas. And people have masks and there's already carbonas. That tells us how much you should believe anything in the news. You know? And there were eyewitnesses and somebody at CBS. So I had old Chaveirim from Satmar, who were a little close with me, and they picked up a phone and they called Anduvet, Vida Rebbe. Anduvet, Vida Rebbe, safest place. So what did I do? I had to take off my phone. And Rabbi Yoel gave a shiur every Thursday night. He gave a shiur in Borough Park, and people rushed into the shiur and told Rabbi Yoel, "What's going to for? They had to for radio, Stitzach Karbonis, with Meises, safest place." And Rabbi Yoel said, "What's that? What?" So they told him, "You darfst nicht stemmen." The Rebbe gesagt, nicht das. He was like, he got like. Our job is dire betachteina. A Farbrengens de Schina lamata in apastes, in lamata in apastes begabt sich nicht. Dire betachteina meint es denn a freie Yid. Dire betachteina means in me, in my job, in my kviya sitim lateid every night and every morning, and Pashat who we are, simple Yidden, Pashat Chsidim, that we're so not Pashat, so the tiefste Sache that we could be. Und das hat der Rebbe reingekarft in den Kopf herein mit der Pastis. Mit der Pastis, der Pshit, der Munde Pshite. I once heard from Ramesh Cohen, L'chaim. And Ramesh Cohen, all of us all came once to Farbrengens in Williamsburg. Well, we just thought when we became Lubavitch, we came to one of the houses clandestinely, we held on the hate. We had a Farbrengens, but they didn't came. So, and that was gekocht. That was a rausgekommen, the Bolok Sich of the Rebbe. The Rebbe explains in Parshas Bolok, the Rambam, that Mashiach is not, that's a Pasha Dachelik from Teire, Loi ben Nevi and Bevat. Hier gekocht, and then he was ganz nibbe genommen from der Sicha. But then he told me a story. He said he was once standing to go in to Yechidus, to the Rebbe. You know, there was a whole night to Yechidus, and he was standing. There was a whole line. He says behind him was standing a guy with long hair till his waistline. So the guy was a Fremder, whatever, ganz a Fremder, weit for Yiddishkeit, but he had made an appointment, he had Yechidus to go to the Rebbe. So Ramesh told me that it happened many times that for some reason the night became too long and people took more than the time that was available. There was a wichtig in Yanam and it took longer. That the Rebbe called the line. The Rebbe said it was 4 in. The Rebbe said, Adkar, you have to come back next night. So you got your appointment for today, you have to come back tomorrow. So Ramesh said, I saw this guy behind me and I was scared. What happens if the line is cut tonight and we have to come back tomorrow? I'll be back. This guy is not coming back tomorrow. He's here tonight to finish. Who knows where he's coming from? He's not coming back. So he says, I turned to this guy and I asked him, can we switch? I'm not ready to go in yet. I need to prepare more. Can we switch? You go in first, I'll go in after you. The guy was elated. He didn't do much achanis. So he said yes. So he says he went in, and when he came out, he says he was pale like the ceiling, and he couldn't find the klamka, the door. He was like, they had to help him find the door and sit down. So I don't know what the story was. So if he went in and right after, or he spoke to him before, or when he came out, it was Gancz. And he says, I asked this guy, what took you? Why did you come out so tzedidek? Well, what happened? What went on there? So he says, I came in and I started to talk to the Rebbe in science. I'm a big scientist. And that's my study, my business, my thesis that I wrote. But I'm a big scientist. And I was blown away by the Rebbe's knowledge in science. He knew every new pamphlet that came out. But he says, but that didn't really blow me away because I knew Schneersons, they all were known to have big cap. So he goes to the bathroom, he reads all these pamphlets and he catches up, and big deal, what does it take for a genius to catch up on a little science? Okay. But then I asked the Rebbe, I want to go into business. And I'd like to have a bracha or tzlacha. So the Rebbe told me, I don't advise you to go to business. So he says, not being a chassid, a chassid, the Rebbe says, is Gandhi. He says, I wasn't a chassid. Yeah, I'm not a chassid. So he says, I asked the Rebbe, well, why not? I want to go to business. Why shouldn't I? So the Rebbe told me, because in these 5 minutes that you're here, I gathered that your family has a lot of money. You have enough money. And you don't need to waste your time and go get business. Od kunt Mashiach. You have to be ready for that. Go to yeshiva, prepare yourself, start learning about it. That's a shaykhis, because od kunt Mashiach. So again, Dr. Ich bin nicht der Lubavitcher Chassid. So I turned to the Rebbe and I said, Lubavitcher Rebbe, ich mach nicht kein Witz. I want to go to business with the Emmas. Why are you telling me fairy tale stories of my Amaisa with Mashiach? I want to go to business. Right? He says at that point, those beautiful 2 eyes and that smiling, beloved face turned into 2 spears. He says he looked at me and he pierced my kishkas, literally 2 laser beams, and he told me in a few words. He says, bei uns is Mashiach kein Witz nicht. Wir leben mit dem jede Regel. So he came out. So he told Rabbi Hesh. So Rabbi Hesh said, was hat passiert? Sagt er, I always knew that in Yerushalayim there are people with these big frisbees. And they believe in these fairy tale stories, they believe in mices, I saw a man who's so up in every piece of science. A man who knows the world better than I know it. And not the upper world. And then der Welt, the spit. And so that man says, that I shouldn't go to business. Because Mashiach kommt man. And that blew me away. That literally blew me away. I get this the vergleichung. Nee. The pastors. Als Ottot kommt er. Und der Rebbe nimmt uns mit das Hakore in dem Inje. Machaim.
Became like this? No. Let's see. Amen.
Oh, danke, ich darf es flach. Ja, ich muss durch.
Cheyenne.
Chaim, yes. I think he wants up. The Rambam sagt that if a person, Adami Medini, a person is affected by people that live around him, a person is always a social being, is affected by what's going on around him. By the way, before that, I'd like to tell a story. A young man met me once in Gancz in a shtivel. He told me, Mr. Lubavitch is tanob for the meisten. He told me that he used to go to Rabbi Miller. He used to go a lot to listen to Rabbi Miller. So he said once, Rabbi Miller was known, he was a very opinionated person, he had strong views and things, he had shittas. So he once announced that he's against all the kollel that the Litvish make. They make a kollel in a certain city, you can like go out for a year or two until they have bigger children. And they learn the whole day, and in the evening they make chavrusas and they do kiruv. So he was against it. He said, Adam Himadini, the Rambam says a person is absolutely influenced by the surroundings. There's no right to live in a non-from Sviva. He's against it. He made a machoy. So this young man tells me I was there by that shir, and a guy had the guts, and he raised his hands, and he says, Rabbi Miller, I once heard you talking very fondly about the Lubavitch Rebbe, and he, not only does he send the koilel of Tanya Galai, he sends a single family of a couple to Timbuktu, to a hick town in the world, but there's nobody there, just that couple. Why don't you go out against them as well? He said, I'm not talking about Lubavitch, ich red wegen the koilel. So he said, that's exactly the question, why not? So the Shigaman said, he said like this, he said, a Lubavitcher shliach, no matter where he goes, never left 7-7. Ich red von jungen Leid was vorne weg. Ich hatte stark an Ort zu hören, als Makir gewinnt, ist das, wo der Emes ist, als was? That a chosset, no matter where you are, no matter how high you are and how low you are, where, in welchem matzah where you are, is the Rebbe dein Rebbe. And we are in 7-7. Yes, as I said, push the young light vorne weg without any stamp vorne weg. Werden Mamuna, werden Rakaponim. So the Rambam says, Adam Himedini. So the Rambam says, what happens if the people who live in your city are the Shoyim? Says the Rambam, you must pick yourself up and move to another city. And what happens if that city? You have to move to a third city. What happens if the whole world are the Shoyim? Says the Rambam, you must lock yourself up into your home like a COVID situation. You know, quarantine. Don't go out. Don't socialize with them. Have no connection with them. Says the Rambam, what happens if they infiltrate? What happens if they infiltrate and they literally come to your home like by Sidon? They come and they want to break the door. They want to come in. Says the Rambam, then you must pick yourself up and go to a midway. Famous Rambam. Yeah? So, I'm sitting in a Farbrengens once, and I gefragt as Shaila, ich weiß nicht. When did you have a day, Rahman al-Islam, which was more verkrochen, verkrummt than today? The more something is evil, the more it's it's looked up to, the more it's criminal, the more it's accepted, the more illegal, the better it is. Modern Welt with all the Simonim, Avikus and the Mashiach. And what does the Rambam say? And what is the world that you have more infiltration than today? One button, with one technology, with one little thing there in your dining room there. So when in the world did you have a more matzav that the Rambam calls for going to the mikveh than today? So I said, okay, that folgende Rambam, we're going to the mikveh. So I took a map, I took an almanac, a big, huge map. I look up where is the biggest mikveh. And I found that in America, the biggest mikveh is Las Vegas, Nevada. So where do you go? So what läuft mit ihm? So it's a starke Scheile. But then I told them, as a klein shtetl, we alle kennen gehen. It's a beautiful, beautiful little shtetl. And there it's the safest place on earth. And it's called Lubavitch. It still has horse and buggies, full of dirt roads, out the little heiselach made out of straw. Mamish like Lubavitch. And there's a train that goes every night there. It takes from here, from New York, takes us down there all the way, and we can all join and move there. It's called Sefer HaZichronos. Before Christmas Shalamita, a paar minutes, take your children, sit down with them. I used to have a minig by supper, at least a little while, a few chadashim. By supper time, all the kids were sitting together. We take out a shtickle, the hemshech yeder nacht, for Sefer HaZichronos. To build up the Zichronos, to build up the she'ifos of those shtetler, is of gelebt, the tzadikim, the storim, that people lived with Anila and Ivrei Siela L'Shamash Eskoini, not in the tumultuous world that we live in, but the pashtus of Yad Deidus, of Yad and Yonah. And Hind is not only the Sefer HaZichronos, there are Sichos, Maimorim, Igros, and videos of the Rebbe. And we have to sit down on them and machen akvius und sagen alle Chayim. And Zechuf heben to get out of the whole Sviva, as the Rambam says, and when an andere Sviva in Gancz, in the Rebbe's Leben, in the Rebbe's Welt, with total pure Emunah, Mashiach, the Rebishter, Elikus, and the only thing that's there, Einod Milvadi, nothing else. We have to move into that world where that exists. But Koidim Gimel Tamas, as we mentioned before, or the Rebbe geschleppt in der Welt herein. You couldn't run away even if you wanted. At least it wasn't easy. As it's getting zugebunden für Neuven, we couldn't. And now we have to buy a ticket to get onto that train. We have to make sure that we sit down with this, with our family, with our children. Und das wird unser Leben, the kids should see that this is our chayas, this is why I live for once a week or twice a week. This is the matzav of Leben mit Avot for Reben, der Reben Sakuk in a Parsha, with Amam and Chazal, with all in Yonah, and in Zechuf Heben, Leben as Asot Leben. Mafsi zijn de zongen, het is allemaal interessante, schöne Meise. Chloja Medrashi, Kirella Meise, die haben hoefde. I was once stuck on the Cross Westchester, 287. I had a flat tire. And this goes back, sure, 30 years. No cell phones, no chaverim, no shamrim. No, what's that? And if you didn't speed, there were no police also now. So you sit there. I was sitting there for 45 minutes, and I couldn't take off some knot. I was missing a tool. So one knot that's for action, but I couldn't take it off. So finally, after 45 minutes, there's a guy with a pickup truck pulls over. He comes out to help me, and he had a tool, took off the knot, took off the tire, and took out my other tire, put on the other tire. This was a real Chassidish car. The other tire had much less air than the old one. So he looked at me, was tut mir jetzt? So I looked at his watch and he said, it's 5:45. I know a shop is open till 6 o'clock. Let's go. Threw in the tire into the back of his pickup truck, and we drove to the shop there, fixed it, and we came back. Middle of the way, I find out, of course, is Ayid. So I asked him what shul he goes, where he has membership. No, he never goes to shul. I asked him, you ever went to shul Yom Kippur? He looks at me and he says, Rabbi, Yom Kippur is a beautiful day. You know what God gave amnesty? A new page, starting fresh every year. It's an unbelievable day. He says, but it's made for those people who sin. I never killed a cockroach in my life. I'm green as, this goes back so many years. I live a peaceful life. I never killed cockroaches. So Yom Kippur is made for those sinners. But so I tried to explain to him that lav davke ignorance is always bliss. Maybe it's time to learn a little bit. So we didn't have the Chabad house yet. So when I need to bring him to a place which I can't understand the sprach that he. So there was a place in Muncie called JEP, Jewish Education Program. Called. So I made up. I found out exactly a day when they have a shiur, and I made up to meet him there. We'll come there. It's a literature place. I knew the people. They're very nice guys, and I brought him there. So that night there was a speaker. It was a Rabbi Maimon, Ananikul from Rabbi. He had an immaculate English, unbelievable delivery, and he gave a talk on Genesis, on Bereshis, on the pasuk. He took the entire science of today, of all the elements and the atoms and all the elements that they know today, and everything was put into that pasuk. Ruach is this element, and Eish is this element, all the Dalet Yesodis, and in the Dalet Yesodis all the elements, and with an unbelievable English delivery with all the contemporary real words. I was blown away, literally. So finally he finished. I went over to the Scheverman, I tapped him on the shoulder and said, "Nu, what do you say to this?" So this guy was a smart guy. He tapped me back on my shoulder, and he says, "Aaron, if I want to learn science, I go to Yale and Harvard. They do a better job. I came to hear the unadulterated Torah. Why did you have to dilute it for me? Can't you give me the real thing? If I'm not ready," he says, "that's my problem." He says, "Why did you water down this whole thing? Couldn't you give me the real thing?" So that was before I opened the Chabad house. That was my first message of Shlichus. That yes, we have to package it. We have to say it in English. I can't say it in Hungarian. Ich darf es sagen auf Englisch. Aber ich verkaufe was? Not a marketing shtick, der Arum. No, the Zach allein, nobody wants to hear. He wants to hear the Amos. He's not ready to work with it. Well, Kapana, while I was there, a Yid comes over to me, and he tells me, "You should know that I was born frei. My parents know nothing. And I married a wife, which used to be from, she's an Israeli, and a tough Israeli. She was 16 when she left all Yiddishkeit, to the extent that we dated Yom Kippur on a bus. And now, he says, to eat at Tzaras, I am starting to become from. Jeb started to be Makar of me, and she's grown crazy. She doesn't know what to do with herself. She ran from it like from fire. And now, I'm now starting to become from schlepping her along, and she's furious. She says anytime the rabbi calls to her, there's a shir tonight, if she's home, she cuts the wire. She's furious. She said, maybe you want to try to talk to her. I said, Lubavitch, maybe. No. So I knew already why I got the flat tire. Huh? No. A Mizrachi Stube, but I'm from a Mizrachi Stube. So he gave me the job, picked up a phone that night, and I called his wife. And Pelle of a Hafla, she didn't cut the wire, and she spoke to me for 2 hours. Molotainas, Holocaust, and this and that, Molotainas. Fearsome, fire. And so next night I spoke to her, next week I spoke to her many, many times. Till her husband decided one day, he wrote a letter to the Rebbe. He wrote a letter to the Rebbe that I am Shem Shabbos, my wife is not. I keep kosher, she doesn't. In the home we try to keep kosher, but she goes out, whatever. I do many things. I want to start in Yonim, that we have to do together, and I don't know how to do it because she's fierce and against it. Let's do it. So the Rebbe answered him, if you give me her name, her mother's name, ask her Alatzian on Spell. But then, P.S., the Rebbe wrote a P.S. at the bottom, by the way, you should know that it's very hard for a husband to influence a wife. Especially when you married her, Aldas, that you're not through. But there was a different deal, and now you're changing it. What do you expect? So you have to hire, you have to take somebody else, an outsider, a good friend or somebody. It shouldn't come from you. You shouldn't push her. It's too hard. It's too hard when an insider does it. It has to come from an outsider. So he was elated. He got a letter from the Rebbe. He was seventh heaven. So he did two things. One thing was he framed it. He went to his back office. He was a chiropractor. And hung it up in the back office of the wall. I believe for them. He was like. And secondly, he picked up a phone and he said, till now I had a rachmanos on you. That for every second night you're up for hours talking to my akshanistic wife. But now, the Rebbe gave you the job. The Rebbe told me I have to hire somebody else. It's you. So it's your job. Your Rebbe told me to do it. Now continue. Nope. It didn't take long. And she walked into the office and she saw that letter. No, I had a phone call that night. She said, interesting. She doesn't believe in God. But she used to go to the Rebbe for dollars. Why? She said, from or not from, believe or not from, every nation has a head. Every nation, I'm Jewish. I'm born in a Jewish nation. So the leader of the Jewish nation is the Lubavitch Rebbe. So you have to be, he's the president. Every company, you believe in, don't believe in it. He's the president. So the Jewish people. So I went for dollars. But now, she said, I saw the Rebbe's answer. So now I don't believe in I don't see anything happening. I'm not starting to keep any halachas, and I don't see him dying or anything. So I listened. So I couldn't answer her much. Whatever, I let it go. It didn't take long. It was like, I don't remember, a week or 2 weeks, a month maybe. I don't remember. It goes back a long time. But she came to me one night. She said she doesn't want to talk on the phone. She has to come to me. And she started crying bitterly. She went to the doctor that day. And she was diagnosed with a terrible growth. And she was crying. So I told her, why you're crying. You know exactly what you need to do. You know the Rebbe's letter. You know what he said. He said, Asker Alatzi, and he went there. And Zamoichel, you're going to write a letter to the Rebbe, or I'll write. You're going to be Makabel, but you need to be Makabel. Well, the Rebbe is not helping. She was Makabel. I don't remember, I have to be the honest truth, I don't remember if I wrote in or she wrote to the Rebbe, Gedenknisch. There was no answer, so Mamela Gedenknisch said, I don't think it came any answer to this. But she came back to me a week later and she went back to the doctor for the second appointment. And the doctor looked at her and said, Tzaliah, tell me, what are you doing? What treatments? What are you doing? She said, nothing. He said, whatever you do, keep on doing. She said, what do you mean? So he took out the 2 scans and he showed them. See, this is the growth. There's nothing here. Zilch. Nothing. Ad kana meis. This woman came and told me, Rabbi Gancz, they're not Lubavitch, they're from today, they're not Lubavitch. So she came and told me, Rabbi Gancz, if you ever make a Lubavitch gathering and you want people telling stories of the Rebbe, don't do it. She says, call me. I want to say it. Ich hab's mitgelebt. I'm the culprit. I'm the Zach Alein. I'm going to be the first one to tell this story. Yeah. But it's very interesting that the Rebbe, even though the Rebbe, it's known that the Rebbe, even, the Rishimas, the Rebbe, maybe even a letter also, the Rebbe hat gemont von Friedinger Rebbe. Nicht gemont, es ist schach zu sagen, aber Rebbe Mann von Friedinger Rebbe, weiß ich nicht. But at least he had a dialogue with the Friedinger Rebbe about Nafse. Und der Babitsch hat nicht gemacht, aber hat gemacht zu Topf von Nafse. Der Rebbe had a Schitte, a Mahalach, als heintige Zeiten, das man als a durch Cholosh, a schwacher durch, and a Moifel Sof, Kol Sof, Beitoif, helps out in the Munah. Der Rebbe gewollt zu sein Nafse. Ja, es haben Brief von Rebbe zu was. Die Regime ist was, zu da von Rebbe sind, ja. So ich habe das mit der Friediger Rebbe. Es ist Al-Koponen, Afal Pikein, was es da Tausender Mäufzen am Rebbe, befehlisch ja, bechol ja Mames. Was Afal Pikein, jeder Mäufes was always in a mitzvah. Beidig sein Mezuzahs, beidig sein the Tefillin. Always a Kabbalah, wasn't that ich mach a Moifus, gar nicht. Sie gewähren der Anile Vreise des Shamashes Keini. Und der Eberste für die Welt. And if you're here to do Teire Mitzvahs, then there's no obstacles, dann steht keiner nicht weg. Und wir wählen da Brias an Chayne, dann to Parnasse. Als sie gewähren der Eberste mit seinem Teire. Was always mit Bachutz. Der Eberste mit seinem Teire. I remember once, and then Wächter, was been gehalten. When we became Lubavitch, it was still a big secret in the world. Nobody knew that we were Lubavitch. Everybody knew that we were Chabad, but not Lubavitch. He loved Chabad, so he learned Chabad. Talmidim learned Chabad, but no connection officially to the Rebbe. Most Talmidim didn't know anything. So at one point he became Chabad and he wanted to have a pair of tefillin with the Alter Rebbe's Psichas Systems. So he wrote himself he got a sefer from Crown Heights to write him a pair of tefillin of the Alter Rebbe's, I don't know if the Alter Rebbe's Ksal, the Rizksal, but the Alter Rebbe's Psichas Systems. So then a few months later something happened to his wife. She wasn't feeling well. He wrote it to the Rebbe. The Rebbe told him it should be Boidig his tefillin. So he took his tefillin, lived in Williamsburg, and he sent it to one of the Choshev the Safram, who were known to be very frum and very meduyik. No special known Safram in Williamsburg. So he sent it to him, and he sent it back, and he said everything is okay, everything is fine. So when the Wächter was the ganzen Zeit, it's a five, what's going on? The Rebbe said, you should check if something is going on, and the Sefer says, alles is fine. So he wrote back to the Rebbe, and he gave it into the Sefer, and the Sefer says, alles is fine. So that part habe ich schon mitgehalten. Came back an answer from the Rebbe, the Shmen is weniger, the Rebbe answered, Pella Godel. Yes? Pella Godel. As if the Rebbe has a screen in his house and he sees your pair of tefillin. I don't know what you're talking about. I see it. What are you telling me, Mises? So what do you do? So we opened the tefillin ourselves. We took out the parshias. Still remember where it was. It was Vahafta. Was the hay from Vahafta was moved away from the other, and it was able to fit in the Ois Cotton, the Yud, or Ois Iksav was able to fit in, which maybe a cotton would have read it as one word, but the Evid was kosher with the Evid, but not like Tchila. And so he couldn't go back to the Sefer and tell the Sefer, what did you do? The Lubavitcher never told me straight. You know, what do you do? So he made me the Shliach, I was the Shliach. And so I came to him and I told him, I was, and then I don't know what it was, something, but he didn't trust it. We opened it ourselves. And cooked us and us, from us to the Seder. So the Sefer gave me a big sack. He told me, gaze up thy Rebbe, so dry can cup. So it was this. But he bought a new pair of tefillin, and he wanted Afka Lubavitcher tefillin. So when he came to me, he was frumer enough that he wrote Lubavitcher tefillin. But he came to be Magia that this Sefer should look it over first. So I looked it over and I told him, this is kosher, but you should know that Sefer wrote very sloppy. It's kosher. But he had, whoever the Sefer was, it wrote very sloppy. And it says asymmetrical. It says, so he says every time he's going to send me this pair of tefillin, I'm not going to tell him each time again and again. This we told him, but he was a chacham. He wanted it anyway because he wanted Lubavitcher tefillin. So he says, "Was just for me?" Ad karamais. But the Rebbe said, "Pelagon." What you're telling me, Pelagon. Alles geht verbinden mit der Mitzvah, mit der Linie, mit der Kabbalah. Alles mit dem Eibsten. Ist der Meister, der Rabbi, der Melech used to kochen Sachen, die Meister. Der Rabbi met once a Litvish for a Shiva or something. And he told the Rabbi, it darf made it sein, eine Sache. A Teire is bounce. The Babich is a gute Sache, Sidon, made it dicke Sache, they do good things, they carry in, a lot of chesed, very good, but Teire is a make good, Teire is bounce. So the Rabbi was a really man, he didn't punch back, he had to do talking. So he says, Come and learn a bit alone. So he opened the Perik Heitanya, sat down with this fellow, he started learning Perik Heitanya. There's no oisies in any sefer in the world that talks about limit and Torah. Yichid Nifla, Shein Yichid Nifla Kemoyu, like the Alter Rebbe does. So, after he finishes the Perik, he eats like Talmud Chacham, Amutukah, was steht da? Said was steht, cooked. Never saw such a thing. And he says, yeah, aber weiter der Eibischte, ich habe noch geredet wegen Teire. Weiter der Eibischte, ich habe Nifle. Ja, so der Rebbe hat noch gewusst von Teire in der Eibischte. Aber das ist das, Teire in der Eibischte. Chaim. Simcha Shem Levadecha.
Like 26. 26, I'm taking the video with you.
Ay 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 ay, la la ya la ya la ya, la la ya la ya la ya, la la ya la ya, ya la ya, la la ya la ya. Ay ay ay, la la ya ya la ya la ya. Aha aha aha. Ye du kiyato, simcha shavadeko. Simcha Shem Levadecha El Yoinoko. V'yedu kiyata Simcha Shem Levadecha. V'yedu kiyata Simcha Shem Levadecha El Yoinoko. Ya 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 ya. Allah ya la la ya la ya la ya ya la ya 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 la ya. Allah Chaim. Efter kommt der Rede mal ein bisschen nett dort zusammen. Und kann Mike. Das ist ein bisschen zusammen. Hey, I ask everybody please to come a little closer, no? Mike. We don't need a mic. Let's sit together a bisschen. Gimel Thomas. Kommt alle her. Ein bisschen nett.
חיים, קוראים לך. קוראים לכם. Get close.
Ja.
Come closer.
Ja. I was I have a shul by my Nadim. Adam and Chanan. Was on a gesunden Steig für Schleimen. Chaim. So, mostly daven in dort Schreinen, Polish Eden. I tried to bring out a lot of Chassidish in Yonim, Rebbe's in Yonim, Chulu. So, Shavuos, which is coming from Shavuos, I was trying to explain a bisschen Shavuos. Post Chassidish Oisius and Rebbe's Oisius. So I was tired in an interesting way, because I gesagt habe, wenn man macht a Chasana, you know, the Mishnah says, Noisam Lapsula Yud Beis Chaydish. When you make a Chasana in 4 weeks, in the Polish Welt time, it takes a year. It's not Chasana. And Chasana and Kala don't see each other, so it's easier. But it takes a year. And in that year, you're busy, Pasha, for months and months to look for an apartment. And then the apartment has to be painted and then made over the kitchen and the lighting and buy new appliances.
This is not about the
Yeah? Nah. And then you go to a caterer and there's 5 different menus and we have chosen a menu. And now they have flowers and they have to match to the tablecloth. So the tablecloth with the flowers, and now the music, and then there's the singer, and then there's the pictures and the video. This is and it's $30,000-$40,000 later. Yeah? Und der ganze Oilem vergesst, dass da eine Kude hat vergessen eine Sache. There's also a Chassan Kala there. Gerade der Punkt ist echt a Chassan Kala. It's a whole event. And people come with full tickets and people stay for the Sheva Brachas, and it's a community get-together, a family gathering, and everybody is hosted. It goes through Mamash a ganze Sugi Shlema, like Olam Haza, all Arub and Arub. But the Nekuda is, Hakal Yodim, Avas Asadah Chassan Kala, and we want that in 20 years later, it should be our next generation here with another Chassan Kala next year. That's the ganze Meise. In order to have that, you need a marum. We need that room. Le Maisa, Shavuos, was hat passiert ist, Yom Chasunos, Yom Simchas Liboi, hat der Rebbe Shloile mit Chasana gehabt mit ihm. Sehr gut, sehr. Ja? Und man hat nicht vergessen, der Teire der Tabas, der Rebbe Shloile gegeben, Chemde Genuse seiner Sache übergegeben von der Kalo, von Jiden. Und die Rebbe Shloile mit Jiden gewann der Ingen von Chavuka, Yidvuka Bach, Yechida le Yachdach, und das ist der Ingen von Matten Teire. Knowledge gewen von dem Meuchel, Teire gewen von dem Meuchel. Aber there is Achdus, von dem beide Oile mit Klal Yisrael, der Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, in Shukhnarich also, that we say, Kivan we Chartem, we Kalohan, we Loshoin, you have to have a mind, Matten Teire, dann so der Rebbe Shloile Meuchel gewen, Gufon Shal Yisrael, our bodies. Who has? Our bodies, not our Neshama. Our physical bodies, but the Rebbe Shloile in Beichel given, Loi Le'am, and he was Mekadosh us. In Bemela, it doesn't the ganze Nekuda. Now Bemela versteht sich, das geht durch Hatabas und so da verschiedene andere Jahren von des Chayvesen in Aksube doch ist Chayvesen, wo der Chassen sich Mechayev und so da ist Chayvesen verkehrt teuchet. Aber der ganze Nekuda ist eine Nekuda. Also die Reise, wo Kutscha, Brichi, Yisrael, Kulachat. I remember I was once sitting in the Chabad house. The guy walked in, and he told me that he's an equal opportunity offender. Meaning, he says he doesn't believe in any religion. Not dafke Yiddishkeit. He can't believe in any religion. Why? He says believing in a religion means that I am holy, I am the biggest, the best, everybody else is an infidel and has to be killed. He says, if you're an Arab, you say it openly. If you're a moderate Arab, so you don't say it openly, or you're reformist, so you don't believe in your religion. But if you really believe in your religion, darf man alle hargenen. So that's a Christ gleibt also in ein Muslimer gleibt also, es says lahavdel 11 dollars, I darf gleiben also. If a man says I can't believe in that because I don't believe that Eibishter is prejudiced, and I don't believe that Eibishter does such things. You know, everybody has to be killed. No. So again, this cost me a lot of l'chaim. And I sat down. I told him somebody had to torture the Jewish religion in a very wrong way. Let's redefine was das Matten Teire. So, Rabbi in Leisa B'Yahad does an unbelievable job in this Haggadah of this whole lineage. So I explained to him, what's the pshat for a good neighbor? What's the uptouch of a good neighbor? A good neighbor means that after 10 o'clock he doesn't put up loud music, doesn't step on my grounds, doesn't make schmutz, and if he does smoke weed, I don't care, but as long as he doesn't sell it in the neighborhood. And maybe if I go away for a month or for a week, I ask him to take out my mail and put it in a box. But that's about it. But do I really care if his kid comes home on a test, he has a 50 or a 90? It's a gate mir am was mir die ganze Meise. He's a good neighbor, that's all. A good neighbor has to be a good neighbor. Meaning, du lebst dort, and ich leb da. You live your life, live and let live. A drei minish can come. And then, once you marry somebody, you have a mishpacha, you say, ani le doidi v'doidi li, was meint das? Das meint that from now on, you know, the kid comes home from school one day in the afternoon, and he walks in and his smile is not as big as it was last night. What's going on? Was there a bully in school? Did anybody chep him? Why did he only get an 89? Why not a 93? He could have done better. And he didn't say a good morning, but a good shmeichel. Every prat has been the gay ad nefesh. My family. So, Gabriel das Masbel Barich is a geschmack. He says, Sheva mitzvahs b'nei noyach. What is Sheva mitzvahs b'nei noyach? Rebish the gewollt a welt, the Sheva's yitzara. The such Sheva's yitzara should be civilized war. So Sheva mitzvahs b'nei noyach are basically when it's tzivuim from Hashem, and the Rambam says that a goy, which is a chassidei Musoilim, will get to Olam Haba, because he deserves to be rewarded for doing Hashem's Ratzon. He was created for that. And if he does it right, he gets to have Olam Haba. What is it right? So don't kill, don't steal, have judgments, don't eat a live animal. Let it die first. That's basically Sheva Mitzvahs Ben Anoich. Sei ein Mensch. Lass the Welt gehen. Live and let live. Don't be a chayah. Be a civilized human being. But you don't take a lulav in the Sheva Mitzvahs Ben Anoich and shake it to Dalat Ruchas Oilam. Or take a box and put it on. It has 2,500 halachas. How every letter should look, and it should be shachan al gabel lavan, and it has to be dafka in parchment, on which side of the parchment it could be, and with sirtu dafka, and no such halachas as Sheva Mitzvahs Ben Anoich. For was? Sheva Mitzvahs Ben Anoich, sagt der Eibishter, we're good neighbors. Ich lebe in Himmel, und du lebst auf der Erd, und du machst sicher, als Erd bleibt Erd. Just a Maimer Amuzger, a person told me once, that he says, Rabbi Gancz, he says, Rabbi, the Rebbe Sichas, You're too much. You're too much. Steht in Chalul, steht as Shemayim, Shemayim Lashem, v'oretz nosal uvnei Odom. Darf essen, nach Geschmack mit Schuld, oder guter Essen. Ja, man darf da man darf Maschinen, gut, aber was ist der Himmel allemal? So the man, I told him, I gesehen aber in Svarim, I said, why does it say as Shemayim, Shemayim Lashem twice? And it doesn't say v'oretz, oretz nosal uvnei Odom. Either it says Shemayim Lashem, v'oretz uvnei Odom. Or Hashemayim, Shemayim Lashem, v'oretz, oretz nosal uvnei Odom. Steht the Sodom, Hashemayim, Shemayim, as Himmel is Himmeldik, das is Hashem. That's how He created it. It's not to your credit. But v'oretz soll werden Shemayim dik, v'oretz should become Shemayim dik. That das al Bnei Adam. That's our job. Shemayim, Shemayim, that's His job. Peidish the Sodom. Hashemayim, Shemayim, Zel Hashem. Aber Aretz, da soll Shemayim, das ist unser Rang. Yeah? So Al Kaponim, La'achre 26 Deiris, 26 generations, der Rebbe came down with Matan Torah. Der Rebbe gesagt, von ein Ton will ich Azach. I wanted to pick a wife, a Kala. Yom Chasunoso, Yom Simcha, I want to marry him. When you have Chasana, Heb's Chronaiza. If you know your husband wants something, and that's his life, you know that night, whatever he likes, whatever that is not available for nothing. And the husband knows that my wife likes a certain dress or whatever, I'll buy it, who knows what it costs, whatever. Das, von ein Ton ist mein Leben, was sie will, und ihr Leben ist, was ich will. Und eine Tate lebt für Kinder, eine Tate lebt für Kindskinder, and whatever they want, his Moise Nefesh shall be there with them. Chalila the kid is not well. Chalila v'chas Chalila v'chas, if a kid is not well, a father will be next to his bed for months and months and months. But all of a sudden, as a geworden neues Scheuel und neues Seuche, or devils for eigene Mishpacha, I'm like we said before, I'm a Shemer Chinem, I'm there for them all the way. The Rebishter wanted, he gave us 613 mitzvahs mit Amol, which are 90% is all Sachen, even Eidus have half of it is Chukim. Jeder Mitzvah darf sein, a Mitzvah von Shabbos, das ist ein Eidus, but the alle Prate, Melamed Test, Meloches, wie jeder Mitzvah, und Mitzvah, jeder Prat, why this is called Beine, this is a Binyan Ara, and this is a Binyan Kva, and this if it has a Tefach, you can be Moisem, and if it doesn't have a Tefach, you can't be Moisem, and this is Muktzah, you machen sich so ein Kiss, and this is Muktzah, machen es Gufoi, and this is a Kedish Malachte Leisser, every Prat, Millionen Alochas. But the Rebbe said, this is what I like. This is my Welt. And I want from now on, you do what ich will. So the Rebbe took us, Ve'esa eschem, al kamfe in the shorim, ve'avi eschem Eloi. Und das is Matan Torah. So I told this fellow, we darf nicht hargen in keinem, a goy darf bleiben a goy, und er ist ein Avöler goy, an ehrliche goy, bekommen eile ma bar, wie der Rambam sagt, schar. Noch da, der Rebbe ist der Beucher, gewinn einem, was will, was noch a Kesher betreffen. Anybody who wants to have a Kesher could come in, could join. Yeah? So, was das wir gehen von uns? L'chaim. So I want to say something. In every relationship, I once, I was once in the Chabad house. I was Rosh Hashanah. I was before Kiyah Shofar, and a person came over to me, and he asked me. He said he remembers his Baba used to talk Yiddish. It's such a beautiful language. It's nostalgic. He remembers his Bobby. He believes that Chabad should make a lot of classes to teach Yiddish. I was right before the Kiyah Shefer, and my mind was about the sermon. I wasn't thinking about my next program. So I told this person, you might be right, it's beautiful, it's gewaldig. He says, but for now, we'll talk about it after Yontif. But for now, do me a favor. Listen to my English sermon. You're going to learn a lot of Yiddish. So, I'll try my best. The Rebbe Rashab said, Ich gehe in Himmel und die Ksovim lasse ich. The Rebbe Rashab said, Ich gehe in Himmel und die Ksovim lasse ich. In andere Werte heißt das, that the Ksovim of the Rebbe Rashab we learn till today in the yeshiva. Because the Seder Alimut is what we learn in yeshiva. The normal Seder Alimut is Ayin Beis, the Samach Vav, V'chulu. And Ranat, that's part of the Seder. That was Yasa the Teim Chitzimimim, and that's the Seder Alimut the Teim Chitzimimim. But if Chaz v'Shalom, if somebody would think that Ich gehe in Himmel and I left you only with Ksavim, is that what it means, Chalila? As we just mentioned, the inyan of Matan Torah, the main thing in Matan Torah is there are no nafshi Ksavis Yehovis. As a Raisa of a Kutsha B'richa V'Yisrael is Kul Echat. That you have to be Mekasher to the Etzem of the Eibush that does the inyan of Torah, to be Mekasher these kashers. When we say, Ich gehe in Himmel and the Ksavim I leave for you, as the Rebbe Rashab said, I go to heaven and I leave you the Ksavim, he means to say, you have me here. And so that was Iskashtas Pnimi, not like this person said, I spoke about Torah. We read weiter wegen Eibush. Sadikim Doimim Lebeirim, it's the same Nekuda. We need to have both. From ein side, it's not enough on one side that we can sit a whole night and talk about discussions. And if there is no ksavim about it, then like every mitzvah, nachher Matan Torah darf sein dafka mitzvah poyel mamish, you have to have an achiza and tefillin, and darf sein dafka b'dibber akim esvasa v'ava maisa, you can't even have behirur. From the andere side, what do we say? Tefillah b'li kavana is kiguf b'li neshama. You need both. And without the goof, Rachmana Litzlan, it's and the goof without a neshama is weiter Rachmana Litzlan. Shneim biyachad is a shleimus. L'achri gimel tamas is be'emes the derech to how to get to be miskasher with the Rebbe. Even though the Rebbe said it many times, and even before that, through limit that Teirosi to learning my Torah, but Kolschke v'kal v'chemer now that we have to have Pashat HaKviyas. And Umfang, nicht Umfang, in alle Leben. Und kochen in Inyanim to have a Chavrusa once a week, durch Torah Sicha, so es darf zu sein, and start thinking the way the Rebbe thinks, the way the Rebbe looks at the Rashi, the way the Rebbe looks at an Inyan in Torah, the Rebbe's cook of Yeder Zach. And have a chavrusa could be for 10 minutes. And Igres, to see how the Rebbe answers every person, the Rebbe's Amunah in Yedin Inyan, the Rebbe's cook of Yedin Matzah, of Briers, of Parnasa, of Eilam Haza, as we spoke before. The Rebbe sees Bapashtas and Lakus, Eilam Haza, in this pit. Nicht in Shemayim, not in Eilam Haba, but over here. And then it's not enough just to learn Chassidus and just to learn Sichas. But in them, Daf Muhammad and Neshama, and da wissen wir gerät, that we, like the way we spoke before, that the Rebbe is not just a teacher. a moire derech. Like a mama you can't replace. You can have somebody who washes your dishes, you can have somebody who makes you breakfast, but you can't replace your mother. Dein Rebbe is dein chayes, dein nefesh, mein chayes, mein nefesh, that connects us la'avinu shebashamayim, the noichi oimed ben Hashem u'benechem. But beide biyachad through a guf and through a neshama. The guf of the Rebbe today is a svara. Iksavim lazich eich, that we need to have a kochen limud teirasa shel Rebbe, and kochen in the yanim for Rebbe, and kochen and looking at videos of the Rebbe, and see the Rebbe, and hear the Rebbe, to have his koch, and the chayes, that it reingeblasen in jeden einen von uns. Und, one of the things when I became Lubavitch, so I remember we once had a Farbrengens with Rabbi. You had to have a streimel to come into that Farbrengens. It was so Rabbi said, for Animal, you can have once, he says that a Baal Isaac should learn less than a Yeshiv Oil. I'm sorry, than a Yeshiv Oil should learn less than a Baal Isaac, than a businessman. He goes, how could that be? A Yeshiv Oil sits to learn the whole day. How could it be? So he says it can happen ben Azman and ben Azdor. He says, a Bocher, the Erev Pesach, or the day before Pesach, came home. He goes on with Tzoy, gives out matzahs, and he goes to kasher houses, and he helps his mother kashering and doing this and that. And there was no time to learn. So he makes a cheshbon by himself, so what? So if I didn't learn a day, so what? I'm ois yeshiv oil, and the etzem a yeshiv oil. Punkt height. Today I couldn't because there was no time. But what am I bad? So I'm a yeshiv bacher. He says, Abalesik, in the Be'etzim what? Abalesik. You know, the only kesher he has to Torah is because he makes Kviyas Sittim. So in the morning, at night, I make Kviyas Sittim la Torah, but Mela, through Kviyas Sittim, I have a Shaykhis. So there's no such a thing as Erev Yantav, Erev Pesach, Erev Shavuos, but I can't miss a day. If I miss a day of Torah, I have no connection to Torah. How can it be? So Rabbi Yoel said, so it's Ken Amal Zayin, that a Balesik would learn more than in Yeshiva. And he said this was a mashal. This was only a mashal. Of the Nibshal. We had mental futterfass. All of us all used to say, the ganze Welt, the whole shit to Alfa Shnin, Meresh Kol Dargen, V'yat Sof Kol Dargen. It's all only a mashal. What is the Nibshal? So the Nibshal is Gancz. Gancz weiß. So Rabbi said, it's only a mashal. What's the Nibshal? So Rabbi said, I remember you guys when you were not Lubavitch. You had no kesher to Chassidus to Lubavitch at all. The only kesher you had was that you learned Chassidus. And through Chassidus, you had the kesher. You were born in a different country, in a different place, never heard Nisogim, never saw, didn't come to the Rebbe, no kesher. The einzige kesher you had was what? That you learned Chassidus. He says, Alababit Shebocher, which was born in 770, he says, his kesher to Chabad is lav dafka to learn Chassidus. And if we go by a day that he didn't learn Chassidus, what do you think is a Belzer? What is it? Nasatmane? He's born in 770. So he didn't learn Chassidus today. He'll learn tomorrow. He'll learn next day. He says, Chavre, he said, Chavre, I remember when your kesher to Chassidus was because you learned Chassidus. Hain Baruch Hashem, he said, Allah be'etzem Lubavitch. When was the last time he said you opened a sefer Chassidus? Alibe de Nafshe. Ich meine, it's Chitas Ram. No. Ich meine, before Christmas, Shalamite, for a few minutes, mit Anigendl, Sich allein, hemshech the maimah that you learn night after night, that touches you, le'imke hanefesh, you make your cheshbon hanefesh with that, you live with that. Sof kol sof, die beide Sachen gehen biyachad. Der Hano nafshi ksovis Yehovis goes biyachad to the ksovim lozich fareich. Und dort kann man sich mekasher sagen, das ist ein Reise, wo Kutsha Beriche wie Israel, das geht zusammen. It's one thing. And we need to build up. We need to... Besides what's so reich and so rich, and it's Olam Hazeh, it's the biggest Olam Hazeh, is a Geschmack in Sicher. You can't Shabbos durchreden with the kids. Der Rebbe's Hasicha, die Woche in the Parsha, der Rebbe's cook of the Parsha. Parsha's Keirach, the way the Rebbe looks at Keirach. The way the Rebbe looks at Shlach and the Meraglim. You know, it's... Actually, the word that I told you before about Emunah in Olam Haba is a geringe Sach. Emunah that this world will change. V'ro kol boser yachdav. Yeah, but that's a hard thing. But Amazon is a miyuset of Hasicha Rebbe, the way the Rebbe explains Parsha Shlach, we just learned last week. The Meraglim, the Rashi says Anoshim Ksherim hoy. Chazal say Anoshim Ksherim, meint nicht stam Ksherim. Kosher. Ganz good. That's not what... Anoshim Ksherim, and Teire Zok Ksherim, meint kosher, betachlis ahideh. How can it become? What happened? And the Rebbe fragt Asayla Azul. 40 years später, when the Meraglim went by Yeshua, they came back, all Yoshvei Canaan, are trembling, and they remember Kriyas Yamsuf. It's 40 years later. And here's 1 year later, and Yid Meraglim, Anoshim Ksherim, who lived it through themselves, Eser Makis, Kriyas Yamsuf, Matan Teira, Mon, Slav, they're walking to Eretz Yisrael with a piece of man in the hand. It's not they're still in the midbar. They're walking out, they had to go out through Anash.org. And mitamol, the Rebbe still kenish. The Bilti Yecheles, what's shot? He clapped us. And the Rebbe says this word. That in andere Werte, look at the Torah, Bechlal Chassidus and the Dibrige Sichas, the talk Retzach Hazeas was that Meraglim wanted to stay in the middle. They didn't want to go in Eretz Yisrael because Lamatas Malachas. They wanted to Lekus in the midbar, Arkoilo with Moshe Rabbeinu, and didn't want to. Dira B'Tachtoinu was very hard. Hastes Fakir, and Himmeldik mentioned. They wanted to stay Himmeldik. That's Emes. But what the Rebbe's Masber and this Sikha, the Rebbe Masber Azay. But what happens when you do become Erdish? In the midbar, there is Hashem Melech, that he was a Melech Hamo. Hashem Yimloch, that he's going to be a Melech when Mashiach comes. That in the midbar, when there is Man and Slav and Kriyas Yamsuf, over there is a Hanogan Nissis. Of course, with the Rebishter Beweist Nissim, it's all Nissim. But when you have to go to a doctor, the Rebishter Tergehes and go to a doctor. And do what he told you. And take medicine, and he gives you a dire report. And sich ois lachen von him. So da beide oila. That is a contrast. Arayge der Rebischter ist schlachlich Anoshe, und man geht in Eretz Yisrael, man geht man heißt das nicht an Euphemissi. We're going to go as human beings, we're going to see where it's easier to take the land, where can we conquer better. So we're going with B'derech HaTeva. If it's B'derech HaTeva, then I'm B'derech HaTeva. Other. Lebech in the midbar, Ranani HaKovut. Lebech in Olam Hazeh, I'm Olam Hazeh. Und das in dem Rebbe's Koch, in alle Jahren, nee. Und da in Tevat, Elikim begematria Teva, das ist Elikim, Hawaii, Hu Elikim, der Koch in der ganzen Mais. Ja? So hat man Koch in Rebbe's Siches, in dem Rebbe's Kuk auf allen Jahren. when first time Rabbi Rechter told me about Chassidus. Tov Shemem. It's Tov Shemem. And so ich habe schon gemacht, I was married. Most of the Bachar was still, I was older than the rest of the group. And Satmarov passed away at Tavshalam Tes. And I was left without a Rebbe. It was a big hit. And we were... And then we were very close to Rabbi Rechter. He was our mashpia. We learned by him Welt.
The deer?
And Rabbi Rechter had a yeshiva, had a private yeshiva. It wasn't Satmar. He had a private yeshiva, which all the Bacharim were Satmar, and he was a Satmar Chassid. But it was a private yeshiva. But he kocht in Chassidus, and all the parents knew that he loves Chabad, whatever. So, yeah. He made it. He told openly everybody, I love Chabad. He learned officially till the Rebbe Rashab, whatever. We had to the Guru, we saw whatever, but officially, so he never told us anything about the Rebbe. But as Satmarov passed away, and I started to want to get closer to him. I wanted to make a particular chabura. I wouldn't call it making a Rebbe, but chabura, Rosh Chabura, plus to have him. So Farbrengens, Flatbush, and he always dreht von allem. He hated covet like he never knew of such a thing. And never got that Rebbe because he knew already. So he used to go every Thursday night. He used to go to the Bioil for a whole night. He learned to the Bioil. And then Friday night he would come and give over everything. Hot off the press, what he learned last night. Sharichet Ramona from Tibergeb mit ganzen Moschel, mit allen Jahren. And whenever he had a geschmack, big Chiddush, he used to tell it over in the name of Oder the Maral. It's very schwer to say who's going to check up the Maral. Oder the Teres Chaim, because it wasn't printed, it was written. Who's going to check it up? And sometimes in the Kochel, to say from the name of the Kochel, it's also written. So nobody's going to check it out. Even till today, I can say over in the name of the Maral, and a little kid gave me a shepherd. Rabbi Gancz, Chelik Vov, look at your secrets. Ich habe es gehört von Maral, So, Al Kaponim, so we had a very strong closeness to him. And I lost a Rebbe, I had a void. It's a real void that I wanted to.
You was close to him?
Huh?
You was close to him?
He was close to him.
You was close to him? Bochum was close to him?
I was a kid when he became sick. He became sick in Tavshin Chav Ches. The Rebbe gesagt, whatever, he had this gelukkige days, whatever. Not the Chalera, yeah. This Dassam Aviram, yeah. So, no, I was 8 years old when he became sick. After that, he's a schon reinkommen zu Meulem, Shem Shabbos, Yante, I used to go with the Kvittel to him, whatever, but it was a different area with that. On the older generation, he came to yeshiva. He used to, he used to listen to his. He gave Chedusha Sigyas. He learned. He was.
Zwischen in der Schule. Jetzt macht er
Interesting. So Al Kaponim, So I gemutscht to the man, I gemutscht, and so finally one day he took us out, me and another younger man. I was not a younger man yet. He was a chassan. He took us out to the streets. Next to his yeshiva was like a little corner, Penn Street. There's a little triangle, empty spot which has no houses. The house next to it. And he looked up to the houses, and I was sure, habe Malachim jetzt, jetzt geht's an das Gancz. Etwas geht besorgen jetzt, weiß ich was. And I was waiting for it, I cooked. Basically he was looking for nobody seeing. And then finally he gave us the Kiyas
What?
Kiyas Kaf, which means like a promise that we can't tell anybody what he's telling us. And he told us the Welt meint, ik heb hem een zaaier Welt dat in Wilhelmsburg. The Welt meint als Lubavitch geweest is. Hepe Chamuna, Kfira, whatever he said, so is that. Ich will eigentlich sagen, you can't have a pintel Amuna, you can't have a drop of Amuna to hear the real Amuna, unless you learn Likutei Sichos. The Idach Pirushahi Zil Gemoy, a gute Nacht. It's like poured over with a pot of hot gachler sun. And the States we came back with kashas and tainas, with tzionis and this and that. Then I went off to the Bioel. I sat days by the Bioel, hours and hours, talking to the Bioel. And the rest is history.
Before this?
No, after this. But the bottom line is given as eine Kudde. Aber das ist gewesen sein Koch. And we will have emes Amuna Shleima. There's only one way. Likutei Sichos. Just Amuna and Arasha. Amuna and Arasha. Now why Rasha said over here the second pshat first, and then in the next parsha he says the first pshat second. Why? And you tell the kasha to other people, they push it laugh. Okay, what's that? You should das früher, das später. It's a Muna Shleim and Os Achas in Teire. And there is Keul and sich Pnimius in Teire. And the upling, the pashtas. Huh?
That is a question. Why the Rabbi?
If the Rebbe would learn it at Bartanura like that, you find well, make a sefer about Tanura. You find that in Bartanura. Meanwhile, the Rebbe did it on Rashi. But that's a Teire. Teire's Emes. Teire's Emes is Emes. Emes is Emes. We call Sadi Pina for all sides. Emes has no. So, but we made the Ksavim, we have the Ksavim. But the Ksavim allein is good for a friend. But in the Ksavim, in the Dua no nafshis. And the Mele said, "Ah, Chosn Kala die gerät früher." So nicht nur the Tabas. The Tabas is the Makasher between the Chosn and the Kala. The Mele darf man haben, im Reben allein. Achaim.
Did you ever ask a question to the Rebbe?
Ever asked a question? Yes. No.
Not touching the but some
We actually live whatever months
What did you ask? What did the Rebbe answer?
Well, I remember I once asked the Rebbe, I had a shiloh where I should live to go back. I ran away to Muncie to go back to the buildings, Borough Park. And I wrote, Malitzadik. Like with Malitza, it's not.
Without clear.
No, it's a posuk.
Eretz Chaim or Eretz Tzio v'Tzalmoves.
So I wrote to the Rebbe, meanwhile, I think I'll settle over here. But after that, I want to know, Mashal Yasa Azman. Mashal Yasa Seichel Yasa Azman, whatever, so the Rebbe circled Mashal Yasa Azman, Seichel Yasa Azman, the Rebbe circled Azman. I wrote Hamoker.
What?
The Rebbe said, Mashal Yasa Seichel Yasa Azman. It's an old adage, but the Rebbe, and somebody told me, I told somebody the nicest, so he told me, and wrote, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, wrote HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And I think it was HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I asked HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But somebody told me interesting, that he saw a letter of the Rebbe, and the Rebbe answered somebody, Kodim Dodis, and the Rebbe wrote, Mashal Yasa Seichel Yasa Azman. What the teretz?
To you.
The teretz is, but the Rebbe's man, he given that HaKadosh Baruch Hu. To me, his man is man. Like we spoke the whole time, the Rebbe, the pit itself, the Rebbe, the Teva, there's no two things. To me, there's some sort. To the Meraglim is the Neis, the Midbar is the it's Rezach. The Rebbe, there was no last. So Yasa HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There's one thing.
You never have any doubt when you all the transition, leaving behind all your myself.
It wasn't the easy transition. It wasn't. I was looking for something. The mice is as a lot of people who hate their past. I had somebody, the Chabad house. So unfortunately, there are many people today who left Yiddishkeit and they wrote Bichlach against the Orthodox. anti-Orthodox. They have these videos. So a person told me once in my best Chabad, a Freya person, he says, I'd never read such a book in my life. I said, why not? I'm not curious. He said, if a man left something and he's angry with that place, what do you think he's going to write about that? Of course, he's going to write every worst thing in the world about that. He's the biggest enemy. He hates that place. Not only he hates it, he ran away from it. And he gave the biggest tsar to his parents by running away from it. So what do you think? You believe one word a person says? So I used to tell Bacharim, when I speak about Chabad and about the Rebbe, he says, you shouldn't believe one word I'm saying. Shine read, you come on Chabad, and I'm going to tell you all the beauty about Chabad. Don't believe a word I say. How was that? So why am I talking? So I said, I never ran away from Satmar. I never hate Satmar. Alavai should be a tenth of my father's Yerushalayim. With the Rabbi saying, I went to Satmar. I'm a frummer Yid because of that. But it doesn't mean just because you loved your Kitates Malamed, that when you go to yeshiva and you have a person who starts to teach you Maram Shif and you see the Gemara in a completely different light, you left nothing. You'd never understand that Maram Shif without being in Kitates first. I'm going to the entire Yidden, the Wele Yidden. We talk about their chesed and about their heilige Sachen. No, with the Chassidus, with the Baal Shem Tov, with the Rebbe, that weißt du, this is when the Rebbe went to Yerushalmi, Bavli didn't become Ois Bavli. Never wrote a book against Bavli. Gancz Bavli is full of Rebbe Zeire.
But he had to
So noch a Sach. Some may Tanissa. But Gancz Bavli is full of Rebbe Zeire. You don't know him. I don't think you learned Yerushalmi. I don't think you know him from Yerushalmi, even though you're Yerushalmi. You know what I'm saying from Babel? Yeah. So I used to tell Bachar, ich hören dem verkehrt die Ilui. Das Chassidus hat zuzugeben, you know. So.
When is the first time? You just came one day?
I saw the Rebbe was Tafshir Mem, and I came behalten with a bend down, and I was in WLCC, by Chaim Baruch in the office, the window. I don't know.
Oh, that place?
JJ is
Yeah,
Why you went over there?
because nobody should see me.
Oh.
I was able to see the Rebbe, but
We
nobody.
arrange the.
Yeah, Chaim arranged. Whatever.
כן, וזה היה במשך תקופה הייתם הולכים לשם?
רק פעם אחת.
או זה היה פעם אחת?
פעם אחת. אחר כך, זה ביסלח.
Was Sakanas and Foshes, or was it just because you're...
At certain times, it was Sakanas and Foshes.
אתה יודע מה לעשות לרב וכטר?
Sanati,
Shnugay politics.
No. We don't keep... Same as we didn't escape there, I think we don't have anything against. It's done.
Talk for yourself.
You know that someone told the Rebbe that in Argentina, from Argentina, Buenos Aires, there's also Sadmer, Kehila Sadmer. When people, the Shechita here and all the Rebbe was someone else in Argentina, we should also stay away from Sadmer because to keep Machloikis doesn't go to.
I heard that. I heard it from.
Something like that, along those lines.
I double checked with the Chemtovs. They lived in Uruguay. Uruguay, there's a Satmar Kehila.
Right.
There's a Satmar Kehila. And they had a Shechita over there. They ate from that Shechita. And then when they came out to Israel against Satmar Shechita, so they asked the Rebbe, what are we doing? So the Rebbe gesagt, wir importieren nicht kein Machleik.
What?
We don't import Machleik. It's a local thing, whatever.